My best friend Lotus is a huge celebrity. She was dying, so I donated a kidney to her. The transplant was a success, and she recovered well, but just a few months later, she sicked her fans on me online and then blocked me. A radical fan of Lotus attacked me, and I died on my way home. In my final moments, I suddenly understood why she did it. 1. The moment I was reborn. I was about to sign the kidney donation consent form. My hand hovered, motionless, as I felt a wave of disorientation. I glanced at Lotus, lying pale on the hospital bed. She was on an 4 drip, the skin on her arms so translucent the blue veins were visible. Her condition was very poor. I threw the pen away. I'm not signing. What's going on? Lotus's mother asked urgently. Lotus forced a smile and said, Amber, is the pen out of ink? No, I've decided not to donate, I said, raising an eyebrow. Lotus's mother grew frantic. Aren't you Lotus's best friend? Didn't you always say you'd save her life? How can you go back on your word and refuse to donate? I've thought it through. I can't donate this kidney. Goodbye, Lotus. With that, I turned to leave. Lotus was instantly thrown into a panic. Her mother charged at me like a madwoman, trying to grab me, and I quickly ducked behind the doctor. Chaos erupted in the ward, and the doctors held her back. I walked out of the hospital room. Since fate has given me a second chance at life, why would I repeat the same mistakes? As for Lotus, just leave her to her own fate, too. The first thing I did when I got home was pack my bags. I decided to find a safe place to lay low. Whatever was about to happen, it was definitely not going to be simple. I bought a ticket to Yunnan as fast as I could, grabbed my luggage, and got out of there. Sure enough, the trending topics on Weibo exploded that very day. Popular star Lotus's best friend backed out at the last minute, refusing to donate a kidney, leaving Lotus's life hanging in the balance. The headlines were extremely inflammatory. Her fans flooded my Weibo account with all sorts of abuse and death threats. It's the same move as in the previous life, just the timing is earlier. A little later, Lotus went live. In the video, her eyes were red, yet her face was deathly pale, a true picture of fragile beauty. Everyone has the right to choose. Amber is my best friend, my lifelong friend. She has her own reasons for not donating a kidney, so please stop criticizing her. I don't want to force anyone. Even if I'm dying, I still hope my best friend can live a healthy and happy life. Amber, we once promised to travel to so many places in the world. After I'm gone, I hope you'll see the snow-capped mountains, the flower fields, and the starry skies for me. Her voice broke several times while saying this. She eventually fainted, and a staff member nearby had to cut the live stream. So melodramatic. You're quite the expert at emotional blackmail. I remember in my previous life, just a few months after I donated a kidney, this is what she said to the media. Amber donated a kidney to me, and I'm incredibly grateful to her, but she seems to think that gives her ownership over my body. She criticizes my daily choices and tries to control my life. I'm someone who has already died once. All I want now is to live well, to enjoy life and be true to myself. Yet Amber acts like I owe her, and she tries to use this to psychologically manipulate me. It was Amber's own decision to donate. No one forced her. My eyes went wide with shock. I simply couldn't believe what I was hearing. We had been best friends for 10 years, so close we'd share a bed and eat from the same ice cream cone. She always used to say, Amber, apart from my boyfriend and my toothbrush, I'd share anything with you. Who knew it was all an act? The WeChat ringtone snapped me out of my reverie. It was my boyfriend calling. To avoid being tracked, I had already removed my SIM card. I answered the call, and my boyfriend Isaac immediately demanded, Amber, where have you run off to? I've been looking everywhere for you. What's the matter? You promised to donate a kidney to Lotus. Why are you backing out now? At the most critical moment, I knew he was going to bring this up. I don't want to donate anymore. Got a problem with that. How can you go back on your word like this? She's dying. What's the big deal about donating a kidney? He roared from the other end of the line. I let out a snort of laughter. Oh, Isaac, what's the big deal about donating a kidney? Isaac is Lotus's agent, and they're having an affair. In my past life, he asked me to come back to the apartment to talk things out, and I died on the way there. It's hard to believe he had nothing to do with my death. Isaac, am I your girlfriend or is Lotus? From the sound of it, she's the one you're calling darling. Oh, let me think. She is your darling, isn't she? I know all about the dirty little things you two have been doing behind my back. He spoke with unjustified confidence. Amber, what's gotten into you? Get back here right now so we can clear up this misunderstanding. He thinks I'm an idiot. Even trash gets sorted these days. Do us all a favor and crawl back to your own bin. Stop haunting the place like some sentient garbage, will you? I hung up and blocked the number in one swift motion. Looking back, the hashtag for Lotus Live had been pushed to the top of the trending list. One particular comment caught my eye. Why would a star of her caliber be best friends with a regular person? Because she's always wanted Amber's kidney. This comment got a lot of replies, which pushed it to the top. Not long after, the comment was deleted. Lotus did it. Good thing I took a screenshot. I quickly found that ID and sent him a private message. Do you know something? He replied pretty fast. Then you'll have to get me out of your blacklist. Gavin. So it was Gavin, Lotus's ex-boyfriend. 3. I took him off my WeChat block list and sent him a Message, he replied with a dog head emoji. So, you finally see your bestie's true colors. Ha, crystal clear. Gavin gave me a call, he warned me. This is too complicated to explain over the phone. Where are you now? Find a safe place and lay low. I'm filming in Dolly. I'll find you when I get back. After a moment of silence, I said, I'm in Dolly too. What a coincidence. Gavin is also a celebrity. And he was really popular back in the day when he and Lotus made their relationship official. It even crashed Weibo, but the good times didn't last. They broke up suddenly. Lotus told me through tears that Gavin had cheated on her. Suddenly, a flood of negative news about Gavin emerged online, each story more shocking than the last. That period was his darkest hour. He had no roles to film, his commercial endorsements were terminated, and even his movie slated for theatrical release was postponed. It wasn't until much later, after the situation had died down, that he finally started working. But he could only land roles in low-budget, subpar web series. Back then, I was so indignant that I blocked him. Looking back now, I realize he was framed. He was also a victim of Lotus's schemes. I disguised myself so thoroughly even my own mother wouldn't recognize me, then went to his hotel to meet him. He had just finished filming, wearing a white shirt that revealed his collarbone. He was sprawled lazily on the bed. This guy's looks are unreal. No wonder his fans drool over his photos. I got straight to the point and asked, tell me what? You know, Amber, you're in such a hurry, you didn't even want to catch up with me first. I plopped down on the sofa, grabbed a bottle of water nearby, and took a big gulp. She's a threat to my life. How could I not be in a hurry to get the details? I found out about this by accident. Gavin told me that after he started dating Lotus, he accidentally came across her medical report. She was born with only one kidney, and doctors had long predicted it would eventually fail, yet she never told a soul, not even Gavin or me. Whenever Gavin asked about her health, she would dodge the question. She was terrified Gavin would break up with her over this, so she claimed there was no need to worry about finding a donor. Her family had already secured a match for her years ago. It can be replaced whenever needed. Gavin was still wondering how she could be so confident that a kidney would be provided for her at any moment. But once the news of my kidney donation broke, he connected it with what Lotus had told him earlier and realized the kidney that had been targeted long ago was mine. You were just a living kidney donor being raised by her side, Gavin said. Knowing this, everything suddenly made sense. In my past life, after a few months, she discovered her body was highly compatible with my kidney, so she set her sights on my other one. A living person can't donate their other kidney, but a dead one can. Back then, she said she wanted to donate her body, and she sweet-talked me into signing a body donation agreement too. Once I'm dead, with a little maneuvering, wouldn't she be able to get her hands on my other kidney without a hitch? After piecing it all together, a chill ran down my spine. You're in grave danger now. You need to hide well and make absolutely sure neither she nor her lackeys can find you. You can run, but you can't hide forever. The best defense is a good offense. I want to survive. You want to clean up your image. Gavin, how about we work together? He raised an eyebrow and asked, she's a top star with serious clout. You're just a nobody. What could you possibly do? Don't forget, I'm Lotus's best girlfriend. I know a thing or two about her affairs. Deal. They hit it off immediately. For lately, there's been a lot of brainwashing rhetoric online promoting the idea that one kidney is all a person needs. I suspect Lotus's marketing team played a significant role as well. Lotus's series of questionable moves really angered the fans. Many die hard fans lined up at hospitals to get tested for a potential match to save her. She got incredibly lucky. A fan was actually a perfect match for her. Seeing this news, I knew it was my time to step into the spotlight. I took her WeChat out of the block list and sent her a message. That same day, I booked a flight back and went straight to the hospital where she was, right out in the open. The media swarming the hospital snapped photos of me like crazy, making me feel like a total celebrity. I entered the hospital room and saw Lotus, looking even more haggard, and that bastard Isaac. Back then, she said, keep the good stuff in the family, and introduced me to Isaac. Her lips moved slightly. She glanced at Isaac beside her, and he tactfully withdrew. Before leaving, he didn't forget to remind her to call for him immediately if she needed anything. Seeing the room was empty, I got straight to the point. I know about you and Isaac. Lotus immediately defended herself. Amber, is that why you're angry? It was all Isaac's fault. He used his position as my agent to pressure and manipulate me. I was blinded, Amber, and now I'm paying the price. You have every right to resent me. I brought this all on myself. I sneered inwardly. She really was a child star through and through, a born actress. She was no naive little starlet to be toyed with by her agent. I've thought it over these past few days. Even though I'm furious that Isaac cheated on you, our 10 years of friendship can't just be thrown away, especially now, when you're so terribly ill. Tears welled up in Little White Flower's eyes. It would be disrespectful to her performance not to match her acting effort, so I said with deep emotion, remember 10 years ago, when we first met, you gave me a necklace engraved with best friends forever. I was truly moved back then. I really did think of you as my closest family, you jerk. Little White Flower covered her face and sobbed uncontrollably, begging for forgiveness. Fine. I'll forgive you, but you have to help me take that scumbag down. I know her too well. Even if she finds a new kidney, she won't let me go. I've guarded this one for 10 years. There's no way I'm giving it up easily. And who the hell does Isaac think he is? She agreed. We held each other and wept. Someone in the building across the street captured this moment. The next day's headline read, Iron Sisters bury the hatchet. Lotus's bestie is back. Public opinion began to shift, with some fans claiming I only dared to return because a new donor had appeared. Some people said that the two of them, hugging and crying together, seemed to share a genuinely deep bond. It's a chaotic mix of paid trolls, fans, and casual onlookers. Truth and fiction are all jumbled up. Who can really tell? I expressed my concern about the death threats. Lotus said she'd rein in her fans in the fan groups, and once the hype dies down, I'll be fine. Don't worry, we can just spend some money to bury those trending topics. As for Isaac, I'll just fire him and be done with it. We'll talk about this after your surgery. Right now, your health is the top priority, I said, holding her hand with a gentle smile. 5. After her kidney transplant surgery, Lotus developed a persistent high fever. I thought she'd kick the bucket before I even got a chance to do anything, but she pulled through. It just goes to show the old saying is true. The bad ones always live the longest. When she was on the brink of death, Gavin came to see her, even keeping vigil outside the ICU for 2 sleepless nights. The paparazzi caught the whole thing, and the scandal that had just been contained exploded all over again. The fans are endlessly debating. Some believe it's a case of true feelings being revealed in adversity, while others think it's just a scumbag trying to whitewash his image. Gavin told me they broke up because he discovered her dirty secrets and decided to cut her out of his life, but Lotus still loves Gavin. It's just that since she couldn't have him, she decided to ruin him. That kind of personality is truly terrifying. The first thing Lotus saw upon waking was a scruffy, unshaven Gavin, and she was utterly overwhelmed with emotion. Just like that, the two of them got back together. Gavin cleared his schedule and stayed by her side in the hospital all day. They were absolutely inseparable, their relationship sweeter than honey. Sometimes I just want to exclaim to those who criticize Gavin's acting, open your eyes and look, his performances worthy of an Oscar. Lotus's mother was very pleased and thoughtfully gave the two some space. Isaac saw everything and was absolutely furious. He really disliked Gavin and had made all sorts of snide remarks about him when Lotus and Gavin were dating. Back then, I thought he was just worried Lotus would have her heart broken by a player. The truth is, he's jealous. Jealousy is a venomous snake. It can drive a person mad and lead to their ruin. My demand as the mobile kidney source for Lotus to take out Isaac is far from sufficient. Gavin is the perfect catalyst. While Gavin was away, Isaac whispered in Lotus's ear that Gavin was just using the publicity from her illness to rehabilitate his image and make a comeback. Lotus shot him a glare, eating an orange her boyfriend had just peeled for her, and said with a bright smile, if he makes a comeback, I'm happy for him. It's my business, so stay out of it. Isaac pointed a finger at her, his voice rising. What do you mean your business? You're a public figure, you don't have private business, your personal life affects your career. Of course I have a say. Lotus slammed her bowl down angrily. Isaac, I'm your boss. Have I been too nice to you? Is that why you think you can overstep? I haven't even settled the score with you for pissing off Amber and nearly getting me killed. Isaac was completely rebuffed, having eavesdropped long enough at the door. Gavin pushed it open and entered. Isaac brushed past him, seething with resentment. When Gavin told me about it, I knew the seeds of jealousy were already growing wildly. 6. Amid the online discussions about Gavin and Lotus's relationship, a discordant note suddenly emerged. Some people, based on a photo of Lotus with her agent Isaac, speculated that they had a clandestine relationship. Claims like how Lotus was leaning towards Isaac in the photo, or how she was practically clinging to his arm when she linked it with his, like Isaac posted on Weibo showing off a watch that's the same model as Lotus's. Their analysis was incredibly thorough and convincing. Then, a lot of people who didn't know the full story started chiming in. This chorus of voices grew unexpectedly loud. Lotus was bedridden with illness and had another falling out with Isaac, so she had no energy to deal with the online chatter. With thoughtful consideration, I brought these posts right to her bedside. Look, someone's trying to mess with you on purpose. The little white flower nearly exploded with rage when she saw these posts. I feigned surprise and said, Gavin doesn't know about you and Isaac yet, does he? That hit a nerve. Lotus hurriedly covered my mouth, glancing guiltily toward the door. You absolutely must not tell him. Don't worry, I definitely won't tell Gavin, but you can't stop him from going online, and you can't stop his friends and family from telling him about this stuff, right? I think someone wrote those posts on purpose. You don't think it could be Isaac orchestrating the whole thing himself? Do you? Lotus hesitated for a moment before saying to me, Amber, I need to ask you for a favor. She said she wanted to fire Isaac before the rumors spread any further, but Isaac is her agent and has some leverage over her. She wants me to help retrieve that evidence ahead of time. My contracts, she whispered to me. Isaac handled all of these for me. Those contracts can't stay in his possession. If you help me get them back, he'll have nothing to hold Over me, I couldn't help but laugh. After all, I dated Isaac for 2 years. I know exactly which safe he keeps his contracts in. 7. That house Isaac lives in, it's provided by Lotus. With her permission, I called a moving company, entered the familiar passcode, walked right into the house in broad daylight, and cleared out all the furniture. Guess what? While moving furniture, I accidentally discovered a hidden camera by the head of the bed. Why would Isaac install a hidden camera by his own bed? My brow furrowed, sensing something was off, so I opened his computer. In the cloud software for the camera, I discovered that unspeakable video of him and Lotus. Wow, he went to such lengths just to control her. That's really hard to watch. I bet he used the video to threaten Lotus, so she wouldn't dare lay a finger on him. How could I ever let him get his way? I made a copy of the video and wiped the cloud storage clean. The safe was built into the wall, so it couldn't be moved, but the guy was lazy. He only used a couple of passwords, and I cracked it in no time. Inside the safe were contracts signed by Lotus and a handful of USB drives, all of which I quickly swept into my bag. With all that done, the movers and I made a swift exit from the neighborhood. I didn't go back to my own place. Gavin provided me with a safe house. I went back there, turned on the computer, and checked the USB drive. It contained evidence of Lotus Holdings cooking the books. There were also chat logs showing he paid to smear Gavin, along with all sorts of shady dealings that can't see the light of day. Damn, any one of these records could be enough to bring Lotus down for good. You have to admit, Isaac is quite cunning. He's been acting as Lotus's hatchet man, doing all her dirty work. That's why he knows her methods inside out, and he made sure to leave himself an escape route. I've compiled all the materials, sent a message to Gavin, and briefed him on the latest developments. Isaac hasn't shown up at the hospital, which means he hasn't gone home yet. I rushed back to the hospital and told Lotus about the new discovery. Something this exciting shouldn't be kept to myself. When she heard about Isaac recording the video, her heart rate monitor spiked. I hurriedly reassured her, "Don't worry, I searched his entire computer, everything should be deleted, and I cleared the data from the cloud drive too, that bastard." She spat through gritted teeth. She probably just saw Isaac as a plaything, a tool, but never expected to be stabbed in the back by him. I knew the rift between her and Isaac was beyond repair. Isaac's call came through. Fuming, she answered on speakerphone and immediately heard him screaming on the other end, "You cleaned out my entire house. What's the meaning of this? And what about the stuff in my safe?" I left him a note, otherwise, he'd have no idea who did it when he got home. Lotus shot me a startled look. She'd only asked me to sneak in and get the contract. She never expected me to move the whole place out. But Isaac's arrogance finally got to her. "What's the meaning of installing a camera by the bed?" she snapped. Isaac was left speechless on the other end of the line. After a pause, he said, "Lotus, it's because I love you. I don't just want to be your agent, I want to be your husband. I was just preserving evidence of our love, something to look at every day. I almost threw up my dinner from last night." Little Baihua's face turned ashen. She first unleashed a torrent of curses at him, then continued, "You're just the agent I hired. Any improper thoughts you have about me are nothing but a pipe dream. If you keep quiet and don't cause trouble, we can part ways amicably. But if you insist on burning bridges, then neither of us will come out of this unscathed. Remember, you did all those things. You're an accomplice too." After hanging up on him, she turned to me and asked, "Why did you empty out his entire place?" "Because I wasn't sure which piece of furniture he might have hidden contracts or other documents in, so I just brought everything back. That guy is a sly fox. The safe was just a decoy." "Lotus, that man is truly vicious. If I hadn't emptied his place, I'd never have found those hidden cameras. What should we do next?" She suddenly changed the subject and said to me, "Amber, give me everything you found first." After the whole kidney donation scandal, she couldn't bring herself to fully trust me anymore. One could even say she never truly opened up to me in the first place, so this time, learning so much inside information really scared her. Of course, I nodded in agreement. The furniture is already loaded on the moving truck. If she wants it, she can have it. As for video files and other digital documents, I'll copy as many as she wants. 8. Lotus's mother personally went to deal with that furniture and the USB drives. As for the contracts, she took a few copies as well, but I don't care, because I've already hidden the important stuff. Little White Flower must have spoken with Isaac. I don't know what deal they struck, but Isaac hasn't made any further moves. Before being discharged from the hospital, Little White Flower took a photo with the fan who donated a kidney. Their hospital beds were side by side, holding hands with the fan. She wore a faint smile on her carefully made-up face. The media captured a photo with the caption, "A die-hard fan's kidney donation saved the life of popular star Lotus." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Lotus vowed to repay her loyal supporter. I looked at the frail fan, deeply concerned for his future. In my past life, I was the one who took photos with her. Even on her deathbed, she still remembered to stir up publicity. Our beds were side by side. She held my hand, weeping silently. In that photo, she had a fragile beauty that fans described as a fairy shedding tears. I thought the media had drummed it up for a big story. But looking back, I was just being naive. After the surgery, my health is a shadow of what it used to be. I'm only 23, yet I can't even lift a bag of rice or pick up a puppy. I get out of breath just walking up 2 flights of stairs. I can't stay up late. I can't eat barbecue. And I have to avoid fried and spicy foods, but I have no regrets, because I saved my best friend's life. Yet, I found that within a few months, she started frequenting nightclubs, drinking, smoking, and staying up late. Not taking care of herself at all. I gave her a stern talking to, because I don't have a second kidney to give her. Turns out, that's exactly what she had her eye on. My other kidney. Lotus patted the back of my hand, pulling me out of my memories. I helped her out of the hospital, where a huge crowd of media and fans had gathered. Security cleared a path for us. After getting into the van, I looked out through the window. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar face in the crowd of fans. It was him, the obsessive fan who killed me. My blood ran cold in an instant. I even felt a sharp pain in my neck, as if arterial blood was gushing out. I instinctively clutched my neck. A cold sweat broke out, soaking through the back of my shirt. The world spun around me, and I nearly fainted. Amber, what's wrong? Lotus noticed something was off with me. I gripped the car door handle tightly, my eyes fixed on the world outside the window. The obsessive fan, wearing a baseball cap and a fan club hoodie, was pushing his way toward the van. He was tall and burly, making him stand out starkly in the crowd of fans. Following my gaze, Lotus curled her lip. I know that guy. He's my obsessive fan. Isaac has talked to him a few times already. One of these days, I'll find a way to have him locked up. I shrank into my seat, my back damp with sweat, feeling a chill as the air conditioning blew over me. Lotus used a fanatic to kill me and then smoothly had that same fanatic thrown in prison. What a brilliant move. By the way, Lotus, remember when we both signed those body donation forms? I went and revoked mine the other day. What? Lotus was shocked, but immediately adjusted her expression. She really had been trained in managing her reactions. Honestly, just revoking a body donation agreement shouldn't have warranted such a strong reaction. Her reaction told me it wasn't over. As long as these villains remained, nothing would truly end. 9. The rumors about Lotus and Isaac gradually faded from public interest after Isaac's departure and the arrival of a new agent. Money was undoubtedly spent to manage this, but netizens are naturally quick to forget. I thought Lotus and Zhang would turn on each other, but it seems things didn't play out that smoothly. Time to make a big move. The top gossip account on Weibo suddenly announced a Monday reveal, promising to drop a bombshell. After building hype all weekend, the account suddenly dropped a photo of Lotus and Isaac together. With all the prior hype, the internet exploded instantly. Fans adamantly insisted it was a Photoshop job, claiming Lotus's account had been hacked. Fans even turned on the paparazzi, threatening to report the account. In the midst of all their chaotic antics, the fans got exactly what they asked for. The account leisurely posted a second group photo the next day, stating that video evidence was also available if needed. Lotus's PR team has probably been tearing their hair out over the last couple of days. Lotus was practically losing her mind. Once this kind of news gets out, it pretty much ends her acting career. She called Isaac, demanding, "Didn't I pay you? Why are you trying to destroy me?" Isaac, of course, would never admit he was the source. Lotus called me over again. I timed it just right and arrived at her place. Her eyes were red, looking like she hadn't slept all night. She asked in a hoarse voice, "Amber, tell me, who leaked those videos?" "She suspects me." I summoned all my acting skills, clutching her as I wailed, "It's all my fault. I must not have found them all. I didn't delete everything properly. Isaac is a complete pervert. He recorded those things. He definitely has backups somewhere else. The money wasn't enough for him. He wants to drag you down with him, to burn together." Her doubt faded, and her tone softened considerably. "To be honest, I suspected Isaac too. I only asked you earlier because, well, the video incident is something only a few of us know about. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't have told you about the video in the first place." I was still speaking when the door swung open, and Gavin stood there with a face like thunder. Just by standing there, he could feel the dark clouds gathering behind him, pressing in with an ominous weight. "Heh, the cavalry's here. So much for the innocent starlet. Lotus, even a rabbit doesn't nibble the grass by its own burrow, and you slept with your own agent. That man is your best friend's boyfriend," Gavin said with utter disgust. "I had no idea your morals had sunk this low. And to think I gave you my heart, consider it thrown to the dogs, Lotus." "We're through." The delicate flower panicked. She rushed over and clung to Gavin's leg, pleading in a desperate, submissive tone. "I was set up by that dog Isaac. He laid a trap for me. Please, just calm down first. I swear I'll make this right." Gavin, channeling his inner Oscar-winning actor, said coldly, "I've had enough of your hypocrisy. We're through." He pinched her chin, his inner domineering CEO taking over. "I haven't even settled the score with you for all the times you screwed me Over. With that, he turned on his heel and stormed off. Before leaving, he shot me a look. Get out of here. I'm not going anywhere. I will watch the empire Lotus build crumble, piece by piece. 10. The gossip accounts didn't post the video online. That kind of content would pollute the eyes of the drama-loving public, but the affair between Lotus and her manager is now an indisputable fact, impossible to whitewash. Isaac was still the boyfriend of Lotus's best friend. At this point, netizens looked back at the news about best friend Amber refusing to donate a kidney and finally understood the story behind it. At this point, Lotus had no choice but to grit her teeth and post a lengthy statement. First, she apologized to her fans and netizens, offering a profound reflection on her actions. Then, she abruptly shifted the blame, pointing the finger at her manager. She claimed that Isaac would stop at nothing to control her. He lured her using despicable means and recorded a video to use as blackmail. After the video was recorded, she lived in constant fear, and her health deteriorated until it became so severe that she required a kidney transplant to survive. She contemplated ending her life several times, but with the support of her family and fans, she found the strength to carry on. Later, she came to a realization: if she wasn't afraid of death, why should she fear that video? She decided to part ways with Isaac, and sure enough, he released the video online, trying to ruin her. Oh my god, this essay is truly brilliant, a textbook example of PR. She portrayed herself as a victim, and this move seems to have actually worked. Fans who haven't abandoned her yet are arguing that she was wronged by that scumbag and should gather evidence to put him away. I bet Isaac is on pins and needles right now. The WeChat group is flooded with short videos, so Isaac did keep backup data after all. He's throwing in the towel. Some fans even went to Gavin's Weibo comments, urging, "Bro, go support our sister now." Gavin's fans fired back, "We don't pick up trash." Then, another bombshell dropped. Chat logs were fully exposed, revealing Isaac acted as a middleman, paying people to smear Gavin. It was explicitly stated to be at Lotus's direction. All of Gavin's scandals from that period perfectly matched the chat logs. The truth finally came out. Gavin's fans were overjoyed, while Lotus's fans fell silent. Gavin also penned a little essay. He explained that their first breakup was due to a fundamental incompatibility in their worldviews. With Lotus. After the breakup, even though he faced online attacks, he never once suspected Lotus was behind them, and when he saw Lotus's life hanging in the balance, he rushed back to her side without a second thought. Even after seeing the photo of Isaac and her together, he still chose to believe her explanation. Little did he know, the mastermind behind all the scandals was this seemingly innocent and pure little flower. Heartbroken, he decided to cut all ties with her. In no time, the hashtag heartbroken for Gavin was trending. 11. Isaac is dead. He was attacked by a radical fan of Lotus and died on the spot. When I heard the news, I instinctively clutched my own neck. Thank goodness, in this lifetime, it wasn't me who died. The fan, wearing a baseball cap and a Lotus fan club hoodie, didn't leave after taking out Isaac. He just sat there at the scene, waiting to be arrested. I really wanted to ask her, now that Isaac and that extremist fan are both dealt with, is she happy? Whether she's happy or not, I certainly am. During this time, Lotus has been holed up at home, and I've watched the people around her dwindle away. When you're prosperous and wealthy, everyone flocks to your side. When you fall from grace, those around you scatter like birds and beasts. It's an open secret that Lotus's acting career is effectively over. Brands are dropping her endorsements, and film investors are demanding compensation for their losses. She's going to have to pay a huge sum of money. I did the math for her. After paying it all, she'll only have about $2 billion left. Well, that $2 billion is more than enough for her to live comfortably for the rest of her life. That's just not acceptable. So, another bombshell has dropped. 12. News that Lotus had signed 2 contracts, one real and one fake, spread like wildfire. The original contracts were delivered directly to the doorstep of the relevant authorities. They even thoughtfully attached the electronic documents of Lotus Company's fraudulent accounting. It saved the staff a tremendous amount of time upon investigation. Wow, it was shocking. Back taxes plus fines amounted to a whopping $2 billion. Lotus's assets were frozen, and just like that, $2 billion vanished. Now she's just an ordinary person, a poor and frail nobody. After all these blows, her body finally gave out. Perhaps the kidney was never a good match for her to begin with. As she developed a severe rejection reaction, she was rushed to the hospital and given a critical condition notice. The fan who had donated the kidney was weeping and wailing outside the hospital, loudly berating Lotus and demanding she give the kidney back. But in this world, is there really any such thing as a pill for regret? Lotus's family called me to the hospital. Gavin told me not to go, but I didn't listen. I borrowed his bodyguard and took him with me to the hospital. I said I needed to speak with Lotus alone, asked her mother to leave the room, and had the bodyguard stand watch at the door. Not even a fly could get in. Lotus lay in the hospital bed, hooked up to N4 and oxygen, looking utterly fragile. In just 2 short months, she was completely unable to accept the crushing reality of her total defeat. Her eyelashes fluttered, looking like a little butterfly. I knew she wasn't asleep. Every time she pretended to sleep, her eyelashes would tremble incessantly. Lotus, I'm here. She opened her eyes and weakly tried to sit up. I helped her up and placed a pillow behind her back. Amber, save me, I'm dying. You're the only one who can. She grabbed my hand, tears falling like a tragic heroine. But who is this performance even for? I pulled my hand back in disgust and laughed. What is it this time? You want a kidney? Amber, you've always been my best friend. You don't want me to die, right? Looking at this little white lotus, I suddenly couldn't hold back my laughter. Quite the opposite. I'd be thrilled if you dropped dead sooner. This time, it was Lotus whose pupils dilated in shock. Her voice hoarse, she snarled. Why, they've all abandoned me. Are you going to abandon me too? How about I tell you a story? I had a dream. In it, I donated a kidney to you, and you recovered perfectly. But how could one kidney ever be enough for someone like you? And since I had been tricked into signing an organ donor consent form, you incited an obsessed fan to kill me and take my other kidney. Tell me, should I hate you? Lotus sobbed. No, that was just a dream. You shouldn't hate me. For a dream, I shook my head and said, you're wrong, that really happened. Think carefully. Why did you keep me by your side? If I don't strike first, I'm the one who dies. Lotus's body trembled violently. So, you're the one behind all of this? I didn't answer her. I just stared into her eyes and said with a smile, take a guess, Amber, you bitch. I hope you die a horrible death. Lotus struggled to choke me, but her body was far too weak. She tumbled violently from the bed onto the floor with a deafening crash. I didn't help Lotus up. Instead, I turned and strode away with my bodyguards in tow. What fate awaited her? Death from kidney failure, or the search for another transplant? The probability of the latter is very low. Her life or death is no longer any of my concern. As I walked out of the hospital, Gavin called me. All taken care of. How about we get dinner? I made a reservation. No, thanks. I have other plans. Do you have any idea who you're saying no to? Oh, I know him, the Oscar-snubbed, Ciora channeling, Gavinsky, but I'm Amber, the little superhero who can't be kept down. I've always wanted to take a trip to the seaside. No time like the present. Let's set off tomorrow. Extra Gavin. First life, I only found out Amber was dead from the news when my agent, Olchin, called. My head was splitting. I fumbled around the sea of empty beer bottles for what felt like forever before I finally found my phone. Quick, turn on the news. Your viper of an ex-girlfriend is giving an interview. I opened my phone and saw Lotus crying under the spotlight. She cried beautifully, with the camera meticulously framing the shot from her favorite angle. I never imagined that an obsessive fan would actually kill Amber. No matter what, she was once my best friend. The obsessive fan will face the full force of the law. We will not tolerate anyone who shows such disregard for human life. Amber is gone, but she lives on. She donated her body, and her other kidney was given to me. She's continuing her life in another way. I'm about to be sick watching this. She went through with it, and in such a brutal way. Lotus continued. To honor Amber, I decided to name the kidneys. I'll name them after our favorite directors, Cameron and Nolan. May she rest in peace in heaven. I slammed my phone onto the ground, shattering it into pieces, thinking of Amber's innocent face. My chest was filled with regret. I knew Lotus was after her kidney, yet I didn't warn her. Even if Amber had blocked me, I should have tried to warn her. Now she's dead, her throat slit. Will she ever rest in peace? Empty. A light rain was falling as I stood by Amber's headstone and laid a bouquet of white chrysanthemums. Amber, if I could do it all over again, I would save you. If there is a next life, choose the people around you wisely. May you rest peacefully in heaven. The second life of Gavin in one. TV drama offers are pouring in like snowflakes. I'm inundated. I've been working myself to the bone filming these past 2 years. My agent, Olchin, is a real slave driver, counting the money. Olchin chuckled. Bro, you gotta shoot more dramas while you're hot. Who knows when you'll be out of work again. Then, Olchin slapped his own face twice. I, Gavin, am an evergreen of the film and TV industry, never fading. I've already sifted through the recent TV drama scripts for you. What's this? 365 days of falling in love with the CEO, how tacky. My whole family are aliens. That's terrible. Hey, bro, can you get me some decent scripts for a change? Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a script Olchin had tossed aside. The cover clearly read, Screenwriter Amber. I picked it up and saw the title, Saving the Love Struck. Now this looks interesting. I immediately pointed at the script and said, I want this one. Get it for me. Now, make it happen. Price is no object, but there's an issue with the script. The writer has to be on set for rewrites. Yes, I'm specifying this writer. Amber, note, on-set rewrites means the writer scripts new pages on the spot. Bro, are you out of your mind? When did you ever read this script? Olchin looked at me with concern. I gave him a kick in the rear. Get it done. Now, two months later, Saving the Love Struck began filming as scheduled. It was said that this low-budget series, thanks to my involvement, had secured major investment, boosting its budget by several Tears. I finally saw Amber after 2 years apart. I walked over to her, clearing my throat. Ahem. She saw me, her expression remarkably calm. Long time no see, Mr. Movie Star. I was a bit annoyed. How many times had I tried to meet her over these 2 years? She was either off traveling or working overtime on her manuscripts. Is she really busier than me? I'm the one who's completely swamped. I've tried to meet up with her every time I'm back from filming, and she never agrees. It's infuriating. If it's not because of work, then I just can't see her. Does she think she's some kind of goddess or something? What are you doing here? I asked, feigning surprise. Didn't you notice my name when you read the script? I lifted my head proudly. I never read the scripts myself. Olchin filters them for me. Oh, she muttered cautiously. No wonder all the shows you film are terrible. What did you say? On the first day of shooting, the entire crew saw me chasing Amber all over the room. Rumors spread through the whole crew. Gavin has a terrible temper. Acts like a diva, and bullied the junior screenwriter the first time they met. 3. The female lead seems to be called Coco, a rising star of the last couple of years. She's always flirting with me, whether on purpose or not. Too bad I'm not interested in that kind of cheap, flashy type. Brother, I'm just not feeling this scene. Could you walk me through it? She came over to me again. I tossed the script onto Amber's desk and said to Coco, "Why don't you ask her?" Coco shot me a reproachful look. "But you're the award-winning actor, and I'm just a rookie. The scene calls for a kiss. Don't you think we should?" I immediately turned to Amber. "Who told you to write it like this? Change this scene right now." Amber shot me a helpless look. "Gavin, could you please stop being so childish? Childish, as if I could ever be childish." "Amber, are you messing with me on purpose? You cut all those kissing scenes from the script, change them to, well, since it's about curing a lovesick brain, how about having the lead slap the female lead a few times instead?" Coco's face darkened. Amber let out a snort of laughter, then immediately puffed out her cheeks defiantly. "No way. You might be a big shot, but you can't just change my script on a whim. I'm a writer with principles." I couldn't help but press my fists against her head and ruffle her hair into a mess. "All right then, how about you play the female lead? You're prettier than her anyway. Come on, let me make you a star." Coco was absolutely fuming. She ran off in tears. Under my fists, Amber's hair became a complete bird's nest. Her pleading voice echoed around the set. "Gavin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just a kiss scene, right? I'll change it. I'll change it. Okay." Rumor has it, just a rumor, that the big star Gavin made a newcomer cry and even hit the screenwriter on the spot, all because the writer refused to revise the script as he demanded. The entire crew was terrified into silence for Amber. "Amber, get over here right now. Amber, why did you write my character to be so pathetic in this scene? Amber, I don't like chicken legs. You eat it for me." Amber and I were sitting on the prop roof eaves, munching on the chicken leg. She said, "Gavin, people on set say you're incredibly demanding about the script, constantly discussing the plot with the writers. Others say you're always cornering the writers to add more scenes for yourself, just to fight for a higher billing." Seeing I didn't react, she gave me a light, annoyed kick. "Could you at least act like a proper star and protect your image a little?" I shot her a glare. "It's because your script is terrible. I have to act and supervise your rewrites. I'm exhausted." Amber jumped up in a rage. "You can insult me all you want, but don't you dare insult my play." The prop eve was flimsy. With that jump, it snapped. She crashed into my arms, sending us both tumbling onto the eve. I let out a cry and lost consciousness. Amber panicked. "Gavin, don't scare me like this." Gavin, holding me, she called out for help. "Someone, quick." Gavin's fainted. The crew scrambled to lift me onto a camp bed, and the on-set doctor, Old Song, rushed over to examine me. Amber clutched my hand, her face streaked with tears. Old Song pried my eyelids open. I let out a groan and came to. "Are you in pain anywhere?" Amber asked, looking me over anxiously. After examining me, Old Song said to her, "The situation doesn't look good. If we'd been any later." Amber turned pale with fright. "Where is he hurt?" Old Song lifted the back of my shirt. "Look, there's a tiny scratch here. Any later and it would have healed on its own." I pulled my shirt back down and straightened it, clearing my throat. "All right, Old Song, you'd better hurry home to your wife. We don't need you here anymore." Amber was angry. She was really angry. It seemed we'd gone too far. 5. I had a dream where Lotus wasn't dead. She tricked Amber out of a kidney and then orchestrated an online hate campaign against her. Lotus incited her extremist fans to kill Amber and then took her other kidney. I woke up from the nightmare in a cold sweat, my back drenched. "Amber, Amber, where have you gone?" I searched everywhere for her on set. The crew thought I was out for revenge and didn't dare tell me where Amber was. I finally found Amber in a room, revising the script. Seeing she was safe and sound in the room, I pulled her into a tight hug. "Hey, Gavin, let's talk this out. What are you doing?" I said in a muffled voice. "I had a dream." I told her about the dream. "Thank goodness, it was just a dream." She gave a slight tremble, then murmured softly, "Thank goodness, it was just a dream." She looked up, her limpid eyes fixed on me, and said, "Gavin, do you know why I've been turning you down all this time? Because I'm afraid of ruining you. If the public finds out we're together, what will they say? That we conspired to kill Lotus. You finally made a comeback. What if You get smeared again and your career never recovers, that's all. The realization dawned on me. What do you mean? That's all. I tapped her on the head. You used to be so sharp. How did you get so dense about this? The entertainment industry is all about out of sight, out of mind. Look how quickly fans abandon a star after a scandal. The cruelest part of this business is that once you're no longer famous, no one remembers you. Lotus has been dead for 2 years. How many people still think of her? And even if they do, who remembers she wanted your kidney back then? You're overthinking this, bro. Have mercy, don't do it. Please. Olchin burst through the door. The flimsy prop door of this cheap production toppled over instantly. The air froze for a moment. Oh, wrong room. Please, carry on. Olchin helpfully tried to steady the door, but it simply wouldn't stay shut, repeatedly falling over in his hands. The film crew peeked in with curiosity. Amber pushed me away and smoothed her hair. Mr. Gavin, that's the general feel we're going for in this scene. You need to embrace the female lead with genuine, heartfelt emotion. What do you think of my adjustments? I replied without changing my expression. Makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Amber, your revisions are excellent. They are both so incredibly dedicated. So Mr. Gavin wasn't going to hit Amber after all. All right, everyone. Let's break it up. Olchin gave me a thumbs up, so I gave the guy a kick. He ruined my plan. 6. Olchin woke me up again first thing in the morning. Bro, we've got a problem. I rubbed my bleary eyes. What now? Someone's stirring up rumors about you and Coco being an item, and they're making it sound convincing. They're using behind-the-scenes footage from the shoot and a few grainy, out-of-context clips, spreading it all over the internet. That must be Coco's team behind this. How shameless can you get? I'll contact our PR team right away to clear this up, Olchin said, reaching for the phone. After a moment's thought, I replied, yes, make sure it's clarified. After the PR team's statement, Coco became the target of widespread ridicule. She even started using a stand-in for her scenes and refused to act opposite me. Within a couple of days, another scandal broke online. Gavin was accused of coercing a screenwriter into a sexual quid pro quo. This time, the photos were much clearer. Accompanied by various chat screenshots from crew members, I went to find Amber with a long face. Amber looked at those photos and said, I've dealt with people way worse than Coco. You think I can't handle her? I was secretly delighted but kept a pained expression on my face. Well, I do have a ready-made plan. It just needs your help. Amber, go on. Tell me how I can help. I'm all in. We're a good team, after all. Perfect. My devious plan worked. I roared with triumph inside. Then let's make it official. The best way to kill a rumor is to turn it into reality. Huh, what happened to our agreement to cooperate? Weibo has been blowing up these past few days, with the hashtag Gavin's official announcement trending on the hot search list. My fans didn't mind at all that my girlfriend is a screenwriter. In fact, they flooded Amber's Weibo, calling her sister-in-law. They even asked her to keep a close eye on things and help filter out more good scripts for me in my spare time. I used a burner account to furiously like over 100 posts saying Amber and I look like a perfect couple. My thumb was sore from all the tapping. Coco's role was drastically cut. After filming her last few scenes, she packed up her things and left dejectedly, without gaining a single advantage from the whole ordeal. The actress playing the second female lead res-hot so many scenes that she was directly promoted to the female lead. Soon, the filming wrapped, and the crew was about to disband. Amber and I were taking a walk on the beach at sunset. The show's wrapped. I've taken some time off. You love traveling, so let's go on a trip together. Amber smiled and said, I only travel with my boyfriend. I stopped in my tracks, gazing at her intently. The setting sun outlined Amber's silhouette, bathing her in a soft, golden light. I gently tucked a stray strand of her hair behind her ear and said softly, silly girl, isn't that me? Amber smiled without a word, holding her hand. I walked slowly along the beach. A lifetime is so long. I hope we can keep walking like this forever. Story 2. My father is frugal and has taught me how to save money since I was young. My mother is a spendthrift. She wouldn't even blink an eye spending 800 yuan on a camisole every time they argued. I instinctively sided with my father, who I believed was acting in the family's best interest, until they divorced, and to save money, he sent me, with a 600-point Gaokao score, to work in an electronics factory. He even said, school costs too much, better to start working early, without proper training. I was pulled into the machine due to improper operation and died instantly. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the time before my parents divorced. Bang. My father slammed his chopsticks down on the table. Look at all this stuff you bought. Gaudy and flashy, 800 for a single camisole. You've blown through our entire living expenses for the month again. My mother scoffed coldly as she dropped a sunny side-up egg with burnt edges into my father's bowl. 3-day-old eggs reheated again and again, and you call this thinking of the family? My father stiffened his neck. What's wrong with eggs? They're edible, unlike some people who just throw money around. Amid the shouting, a drop of soy milk tinged with mustiness splashed onto my face. I jolted violently as memories flooded back. The 600-point college entrance exam score, the cold machinery, the searing pain. I had been reborn on the very day my parents laid their cards on the table about divorce. In my past life, my father was known throughout the entire region as a good man. He took on all the household chores, and the moment he got off work, he'd hop on that vintage bicycle, older than me, and race to the market to snatch up the wilted discount vegetables. Moldy soybeans and spotted apples were treasures in his eyes, still perfectly edible. He called it saving food. Because of this, the three of us ended up in the emergency room more than once with food poisoning. Right now, my dad was glaring at the new clothes my mom bought, fuming. These rags cost 3 months of our household expenses. Do you even know how to manage a household, woman? My mom clearly hadn't expected such a strong reaction. 3 months of expenses. These were on sale. They only cost a little over $800 in total. Is the household allowance I transfer you every month not even enough for groceries? Over $800. My father's face turned purple with rage. Do you have any idea how much rice, flour, and oil 800 could buy? You reckless spender. I can't see us making this marriage work anymore. We're getting a divorce. It has to happen. Fine, let's get divorced. My mother's voice was quiet, yet carried a sense of long-suppressed relief. I've wanted a divorce for ages. I've never met a man as stingy as you. I've put up with you for far too long. She turned to me, a trace of weariness and hope barely visible in her eyes. Freya, who would you like to live with? I lowered my eyelids, hiding the turmoil in my gaze. In my past life, my mother was always busy with her business, so we rarely had time together. I was practically raised single-handedly by my father, and naturally grew dependent on him. The neighbors always praised my dad for being hardworking and down-to-earth, saying it couldn't have been easy raising me all by himself. Meanwhile, they often criticized my mom, accusing her of neglecting the family and wondering what shady business she was up to all day outside. Combined with my father's daily teaching by word and deed, I took it all as gospel truth. I never dared to ask for pocket money. Whatever my mother slipped me in secret, I'd immediately turn over to my father in full. Surviving on wilted vegetable scraps for so long left me sallow, gaunt, and malnourished. My school uniform was patched over and over, the sleeves riding up well above my wrists, but I'd somehow forgotten that our family was actually quite well off. My father had a stable government job, and my mother ran her own business. Their combined income far exceeded that of most households, yet I remained the skinniest, most shabbily dressed kid in the entire class. In my past life, after choosing to live with my father, our impoverished existence grew even more destitute. If not for my mother's secret financial support, I doubt I could have even finished high school. Seeing my emaciated frame, my mother wept and begged to take me away, but my father stiffened his neck and roared, "I'd rather starve than let my daughter learn corruption from a woman like you." I threw myself into relentless studying, determined to get into a good university and escape this suffocating life. When my college entrance exam scores came out, over 600 points, I excitedly told my dad, but after a few days of silence, he contacted a friend at his brother's factory and sent me to work there under the guise of college student internship. No training needed, ready to work immediately. This time, I won't be so foolish. I lifted my head, my voice clear and firm. I choose my mom. My mother froze in surprise, probably expecting me to cling to my father like I used to. She knew she hadn't spent enough time with me, and there was always a distance between us as mother and daughter. The next moment, she suddenly hugged me tightly, her voice choked with emotion. "My dear child, I promise to work hard and take good care of you." My father's face instantly turned livid, and he pointed at me, yelling, "Ungrateful wretch. I scrimped and saved to raise you, and this is what I get in return." But he didn't fight my mom for custody, which secretly came as a relief to me. Then he immediately added, "Your reckless spending makes you the guilty party, so all the family assets should go to me." I couldn't hold back anymore and said, "Mom still has to support me. We need the money. Besides, Dad, you've always been so frugal. What's the point of having all that money?" They kept their salaries separate, but my mom would give my dad a monthly allowance that far exceeded what I actually spent. I have no idea where that money ended up, but it certainly didn't end up in my stomach. My father lectured me with righteous indignation. "I was going to manage your assets for you and teach you how to live properly. Since you're so ungrateful, don't come crying back to me later." There was a time when I truly saw eye to eye with my father. In my childhood perception, my father was the finest man in the world. He didn't smoke, drink, or gamble, working tirelessly to raise me while devoting himself completely to our household. It wasn't until later that I gradually began to sense something was off. I grew up in tattered clothes, where milk and meat were luxuries, all because my father often claimed, "Everything outside is full of additives, and modern meat isn't healthy either." He only let me eat wilted vegetable scraps scavenged from the market, insisting with conviction, "Those shoppers are fools. The discarded trimmings are the most nutritious part." Whenever my mom bought me new clothes or toys, my dad would immediately bundle them up and sell them off, muttering while tidying up, "What's the use of this flashy junk? We'd be better off saving that money for rice instead of wasting it on frivolities." When I was little, my mom would occasionally take me out for a treat, a meal at KFC or a local diner. After every hearty meal, I'm overwhelmed with deep guilt and self-reproach, seeing my father's sunken cheeks from scrimping, the faint white hairs at his temples, then thinking of the luxury I'd just indulged in. The guilt made me want to weep. Over time, I stopped agreeing to go out with my mother. After my parents divorced and my father raised me alone, our situation went from bad to worse. My dad sold off all the decent clothes my mom had bought me, leaving me with nothing but a faded school uniform. He said, "Students should look like students. Dressing too well distracts from studying, hard work, and getting into a good university. That's what really matters." After that, I paid for my tuition and books mostly with money I earned from part-time jobs during school breaks. In my previous life, after my parents divorced, my grandmother started coming over with my cousin every few days to help out around the house. It's called helping out, but it's really just scavenging. Every time grandma came over, she would thoroughly inspect my house from top to bottom and take away anything she considered valuable or unnecessary. She would often sigh and say to my father right in front of me, "Son, I feel for you, but who told you not to have an heir to carry on the family line?" My father wholeheartedly agreed. My cousin took advantage of our grandmother's favoritism and my father's tacit approval to act like a tyrant in our home. He deliberately ruined my homework notebooks, snatched the snacks my mom bought me, and my dad would just say, "He's still young, you're the older sister. You should let him have his way." Being a good person isn't just about diligence and frugality, it's about having noble character. Time and again, I bit my tongue and endured it. Then one day, our family managed to buy a small piece of meat, a rare treat. The meat had just finished stewing, its aroma filling the air, but my cousin picked up the bowl and was about to dump it on the ground, saying he wanted to feed the puppy he brought. I had been starving for so long, my mouth watering uncontrollably, so I snatched the bowl and ran. "You wretched girl, how dare you defy me?" Grandma grabbed me by the collar, her nails digging almost into my flesh. My dad's righteous voice came down on me with pressure. "Freya, how could you snatch something from your younger brother? As the older sister, you should know to be considerate and yield." But my brother wants to feed the meat to the dog. "I haven't had meat in so long," I protested, my voice trembling with tears. Grandma spat in disgust. "You worthless girl, what do you need meat for? You think you're some kind of precious treasure." My father frowned. "Mom, how can we feed good meat to the dog?" Grandma immediately put on a smile and patted her chest reassuringly. "Don't worry, it won't go to waste." In the end, my cousin devoured every last morsel of that bowl of meat. I watched him wolf it down, my mouth watering with helpless longing. As soon as the adults left, my cousin smirked triumphantly, spat out the half-chewed meat from his mouth, tossed it to the dog at his feet, and taunted me. "I'd rather feed it to the dog than give it to you. Suffer." At that moment, fury and humiliation gnawed at my heart like a venomous snake. I knew I should have turned and walked away, but the long-suppressed craving for meat made me watch that dog happily licking its meal with a twinge of envy. Me, the daughter of a man praised by the neighbors as a good man, was actually considering fighting a dog for a piece of meat. This kind of life was utterly humiliating. After this incident, my grandmother and cousin treated me with even more disregard, because they knew my father would never take my side. When my mother was still around, they were somewhat restrained because if a real argument broke out, her sharp tongue would show no mercy. Under my father's increasingly extreme frugal housekeeping, our lives grew poorer and poorer, almost to the point where we couldn't put food on the table. After the college entrance exam, my uncle brought a friend from his factory and passionately persuaded my dad, saying he could get me a job at his friend's factory with decent pay, enough to earn my dad several thousand each month. My uncle patted my dad on the shoulder and said, "Bro, you've done more than enough raising Freya, now it's her turn to take care of you." Seeing my father's hesitant yet slightly tempted expression, I knew he had been persuaded once again. I fought back desperately, crying and screaming that I wouldn't go, but my father slapped me across the face and yelled, "You're becoming more and more like your mother. What's the use of being book smart? What's the point of earning so much money if someone doesn't even know how to be filial to their parents? They're truly worthless." And so, I was sent to the factory after all. As I was dragged into the machinery, I remembered the piece of meat I'd fed to the dog, and my father's face, that expression he always called for my own good. In this life, I will never let him ruin my future again. Clutching my mother's hand tightly, I resolutely walked out of that suffocating home. The neighbors were gossiping behind our backs. In their eyes, my mother and I were the very definition of ingratitude. We had let down my father, that decent, honest man. Too, my mother seemed somewhat uncertain about the future as well. In the early days of her startup, she'd been sending money to my dad every month and had barely saved anything for herself, so she could only afford to rent a cramped, run-down apartment. She squeezed my hand hesitantly and said, "Freya, the place where I live, the conditions aren't great. Maybe we should." I clasped her hand firmly and said with determination, "Mom, wherever you are is where I'll be, let's live together." Her eyes welled up with tears as she patted my head. "You're such a good kid." My mother's rental unit was truly shabby, just one bedroom and a living room with sparse furniture, yet she managed to prepare a clean, cozy little bed for me that evening. My grandmother rushed over after hearing what happened. She slipped some money into my mother's hand, her eyes brimming with tears, and whispered, "Don't let the child go without." Actually, Grandma used to visit often when I was little. She was a simple woman from the countryside. Whenever she arrived laden with local specialties, my father would greet her with a beaming smile, but if she came empty-handed, he'd sulk and give her the cold shoulder. Later, my dad became obsessed with so-called online investments that promised huge returns. My honest father ended up swindling my grandmother out of her entire life savings. In the end, both my Dad's hard-earned savings and my grandmother's retirement fund vanished into thin air without a trace. To make matters worse, my dad had the nerve to blame my grandmother for not raising her daughter properly, claiming my mother had ruined his financial luck. He even threatened to kill himself if Grandma dared ask for the money back. For a man like my dad who pinches every penny until it screams, losing such a huge sum was practically a death blow. During that period, he would mope around the house every day, sighing and groaning, throwing things and cursing. To ensure he could take proper care of me, my mother had to work herself to the bone, trying to fill the financial hole at home and pay off the scattered debts he had accumulated from his failed investments. But no one gave a thought to my poor grandmother. Her life savings, painstakingly accumulated over the years, vanished into thin air, and on top of that, she had to endure her son-in-law's insults, being pointed at and berated. In my past life, my grandmother saw my mangled body at the hospital and immediately suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, and they couldn't save her. My mother's hair turned white overnight from that day on. Early the next morning, while I was still half asleep, I was jolted awake by the sound of violent banging on the door. Open up, I know you're in there." It was my grandmother's shrill voice. My mother's expression shifted instantly. She told me to stay in the room and not come out, then went to answer the door herself. The moment the door opened, my grandmother barged in with my two uncles and that obnoxious cousin of mine, all crowding in like a chaotic swarm. Well, sister-in-law, looks like you're living the high life here. You ran off with the money and left my son all alone, after all his sweat and tears raising this girl. Now he's lost both the money and the person. You owe him compensation for emotional distress." Grandma plopped down on the only worn-out sofa, making it clear she wasn't leaving without money today. My mother trembled with anger. "When did I ever run off with the money? All these years, have I ever missed a single month sending him money? That amount of money, based on his living standards, is enough for him to live comfortably for half a year. But you guys, where did the money come from to buy third brother a new motorcycle and build fourth brother a new house? It was all squeezed out of our family, for Freya, for this family. I've been turning a blind eye. Did you really think I didn't know? My two younger uncles, one's a lazy good-for-nothing, the other's a compulsive gambler. Whenever they're short on cash, they'd show up at my dad's with 2 bottles of cheap liquor, a few smooth words like 'you've had it tough, big bro' or 'brother stick together,' and he'd be so disarmed he'd willingly hand over the family's money. But the next day, once he sobers up, he'd regret losing his money and start pinching pennies. Even more in daily life, when my mom called them out to their faces, both of my uncles' expressions stiffened. My second uncle's eyes darted, and he started playing the victim. "Sis-in-law, how can you say that? It's just that our kid has been sick a lot lately, and the medical bills are piling up." Peeking through the door crack at my cousin, who is noticeably stockier than other kids his age, I sneered inwardly. Sick. More like bursting with so much energy he had nowhere to channel it, which is why he kept finding new ways to bully others. A woman should know her place, tending to her husband and children at home instead of shamelessly flaunting herself in public all day. Third uncle crossed the line. "How dare you talk back to my mother? You're asking for a lesson." With that, he actually reached out and shoved my mom. Alarm bells went off in my head. In my past life, it was during one of their commotions like this that my mother got pushed down in the chaos, fracturing her left wrist. It took her a full 3 months to recover. My grandmother and the others were gloating in front of me afterward, saying things like, "Serves her right," and "A woman who doesn't know her place deserves to be beaten." I could no longer hold back. Seizing the moment while all the adults were focused on my mother, I darted behind the door and grabbed the rolling pin, the heavy, solid wooden one my grandmother used to make our noodles. I swung with all my might, landing a solid blow on the arm of my uncle, who was just about to lay hands on my mother. Then, as he doubled over in pain, I took the opportunity to give his fat backside another whack. Without a moment's pause, I turned my attention to my grandmother, who was baring her teeth and lunging to claw at my mother, and my cousin, who was standing by watching the drama unfold with glee. "How dare you bully my mom? How dare you steal my things? How dare you insult my mother?" I screamed and cried as I fought, my voice shrill and piercing, yet filled with a desperate, all-or-nothing ferocity. Though I was small and weak, my sheer, reckless intensity actually managed to intimidate them for a moment. I whacked my cousin on the leg with a stick, and he immediately burst into loud sobs. "Mom, call the police, hurry," I shouted at my stunned mother. My mother snapped out of it and immediately pulled out her phone. When my two uncles saw the police arrive, they tried to twist the story, claiming my mother had thrown the first blow and accusing us of extortion. "Officer, we have surveillance in this room," my mother calmly stated, pointing to a discreet camera in the corner that she'd installed for security. The footage clearly captured them breaking down the door, hurling insults, and my uncle being the first to shove my mother. They were immediately left speechless. My uncle, still up to no good, tried to secretly bribe the officer on the case but was immediately stopped. The officer charged them with obstructing official duties and took them straight to the police station. I immediately took my mother to the nearest community hospital for a checkup. Fortunately, because I acted quickly, my mother only suffered some abrasions and soft tissue contusions on her arm and shoulder. The doctor prescribed some medicated ointment to promote blood circulation and reduce bruising, and advised her to get plenty of rest for breaking and entering, causing a disturbance, and attempting to bribe law enforcement officers. My two uncles and grandmother were eventually dealt with according to the law by the local police station. The court ordered them to jointly compensate my mother for medical expenses, lost wages, and emotional distress, totaling 20,000 yuan. Of course, they couldn't come up with the money, so the debt ultimately fell on my father's shoulders. When my father received notices from the police station and the court, learning he had to pay 20,000 yuan to cover his mother and brother's debts, he was completely stunned. For someone like him, who treats money as his very lifeblood, losing 20,000 yuan felt like having his flesh carved out and his heart gouged. Rumor has it he went into a frenzy that very day, smashing things around the house while wailing and muttering incoherently, my money's gone." 20,000 yuan. The neighbors, fed up with the constant disturbance, started saying the Wang family was getting their comeuppance. After years of pinching pennies and scheming against others, now it was their turn to pay through the nose. He probably never dreamed in his wildest nightmares that the lifetime of scrimping and saving would end with him shelling out a fortune, in this twisted way, for his wasteful ex-wife and ungrateful daughter, the very people he'd always looked down on. When word of his descent into madness reached me, I felt no satisfaction, only a strange calm. This path was one he chose for himself. My mother and I were just embarking on our new life together. After paying compensation, my two uncles were released after just a few days in detention. Still, the ordeal left them thoroughly drained. They finally realized we weren't to be trifled with, and my grandmother quieted down for a good while. Then came news from my father. He volunteered to move in with grandma. The reason they gave publicly was, cooking for just one person at home wastes too much gas. It's not worth the cost. Living with mom saves a lot of money, and I get to show my filial devotion to her every day. I just scoffed inwardly. Filial devotion? More likely they think living alone is too expensive and want to find a free meal ticket for the long haul. To my surprise, grandma and my uncles actually welcomed the idea with open arms. They probably figured that with an extra pair of hands around the house, someone would take care of all the meals, making life a bit easier. On the day my dad moved in, grandma made a point of solemnly handing over some treasures left by my late grandfather. Among them was that old cutting board, blackened at the edges and covered in mold, which had been used by 3 generations. Grandma said, "Your father always cherished you the most when he was alive. You're the only one who truly inherited his thrifty ways of managing the household. You must take good care of these things. They'll serve as keepsakes to remember him by." My father held that pungent-smelling cutting board, his eyes welling up and his voice choked with emotion. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll always remember the lessons Dad taught me. I'll treasure this cutting board and use it every day to cook for our family." My father became the sole and proudest inheritor of my grandfather's legacy of frugality and diligence, and so, my grandmother and uncles happily enjoyed the blessings my father brought them. From the very first day my father took over the kitchen, our good life took a turn for the worse. For all 3 meals of the day, the table was set either with wilted vegetable scraps or leftovers that gave off a suspicious sour smell. On the rare occasions when meat appeared, it was always the cheap cuts left over at the market, marbled with bluish-gray spots. My father would drown it in heavy seasoning to mask its true flavor, but the real madness was yet to come. We weren't allowed to turn on the lights for dinner. My father insisted, "When it's dark, you should eat in the dark. It saves electricity and sharpens your eyesight." Flushing the toilet must be done with recycled water, whether it's from washing vegetables, washing your face, or even mopping the floor, until the water becomes so murky you can't see the bottom. Each person is only allowed a maximum of 2 sets of clothes to change into, he said. Having too many clothes takes up space, and washing them wastes water and soap. 2 sets are plenty. Wear this set today, that set tomorrow, and switch back the day after. Within a month, Grandma was the first to reach her breaking point. She used to sneak some extra treats for herself and her cousin, but now my dad watches her like a hawk. He even took away her private savings, claiming it was forced centralized management to prevent wasteful spending. Clutching my dad's hand with tears streaming down her wrinkled face, she pleaded, "Son, you should just move back and live on your own. Your old mother can't handle this kind of good fortune anymore." My uncles also jumped on the emotional bandwagon, earnestly trying to persuade my dad with heartfelt appeals. "Big brother, look how lonely you are all by yourself. Even though sis-in-law, well, family grudges never last overnight. You should go back to your sister-in-law and Freya. A family of 3 is what true happiness looks like." They probably thought they could free themselves by sending my dad, that jinx, back to us, but my dad shook his head vigorously like a rattle drum. "No way, your sister-in-law is such a spendthrift, always squandering money. I can't change her. As for Freya..." He paused, a hint of disgust flashing across his face. "It's best she stays with her mother, one less mouth for me to feed, and a good deal of grain saved." Then he shifted his tone, speaking earnestly to Grandma and his uncles. "Mom, brothers, life is truly better with all of you around. Look how well I've managed this household, almost as well as Dad did back in the day." He even started acting like a father figure in front of his younger uncles, putting on the elder brother as father act. He strictly forbade them from drinking and smoking, denouncing these habits as squandering the family fortune and wasting money. He made them accompany him every day after work to wander around various vegetable markets, scrambling to collect discarded rotten vegetable leaves and fruit peels after the vendors had packed up. From then on, life at Grandma's house became sheer misery. 3. Everyone looked miserable and full of complaints, yet they were utterly helpless in the face of my father's twisted logic and near-fanatical stubbornness. That family got a full, unadulterated taste of the life I used to live. Meanwhile, my mother's studio was gradually gaining traction. Her designs were uniquely innovative and crafted from premium materials. Though not cheap, they earned stellar reviews, and orders kept pouring in. We moved from a cramped, run-down rental to a spacious, bright 2-bedroom apartment. Though it's still rented, we've made it warm and tastefully decorated. My mom watched me buried in my books, feeling both proud and heartache. She often says, "Freya, it was my fault before. I couldn't provide better, and you had to go through hard times. Now that things are better, don't push yourself too hard. Studying is important, but your health and happiness matter more. If you want to eat something or buy anything, just tell me. Don't hold back. When we're in a position to enjoy life, we should make the most of it." I nodded, feeling my eyes grow moist. In my past life, I wouldn't have dared to even think such thoughts. My mother bought me many beautiful new clothes, took me to all the famous restaurants in town, and on weekends we go see movies and shop at them all together. I've gained some healthy weight, my complexion has become rosy, and I'm radiating a newfound confidence and vitality I've never had before. It feels so wonderful to be loved and cherished like this. In the final 3 months leading up to the college entrance exams, my mom went all out and hired the most expensive tutor in the city for one-on-one intensive coaching. She said, "Money can always be earned again, but our daughter's future is what matters most." I guess Grandma and the others had finally reached their breaking point. They deliberately came to my house to corner me just a few days before my college entrance exams. That day when I came home from school, I saw Grandma and my uncle standing at my doorstep, with my uncle holding what looked like a rather exquisite food container. "Oh, Freya, you're finally back," Grandma exclaimed as soon as she saw me, her face crinkling into a web of wrinkles as she grabbed my hand. Her tone was uncharacteristically gentle. "You can't just abandon your father. Think how hard it's been for him raising you all by himself all these years." My uncle chimed in from the side. "That's right, Freya, no matter what, he's still your biological father. You've got the college entrance exams coming up soon. Your father specially prepared this care package for you. He says it'll help nourish your brain so you can get good results." He lifted the food container in his hand. I scoffed inwardly but kept a straight face. My dad, preparing a loving meal for me. He considers it a sin to have an extra bite of meat himself. You think he'd bother making anything decent for me? Just then, my mom came home from work. Her face darkened at the sight of them. "What are you doing here again? We wouldn't dare let Freya eat anything Derek cooked." "Sis, don't get the wrong idea. Big brother is genuinely sincere this time. He said he knows he treated Freya poorly before and wants to make it up to her." My uncle-in-law hurriedly opened the food container lid, releasing an instant wave of rich meaty aroma mingled with a faint, elusive, and indescribable hint of unpleasant odor. Well, smelling that familiar multi-layered scent, I'm convinced this is definitely my dad's cooking. And precisely because of that, I'm even more reluctant to eat it. That same old recipe, that same familiar taste. Who knows what treasured ingredients that have been sitting around for days are in there? What's good to eat? What's good to eat? Amid the argument, my cousin, who'd grown noticeably thinner from hunger, had somehow followed us over. He probably hadn't tasted meat in days. His eyes were practically glowing with desperation. He darted out from behind Grandma, snatched the food container from my uncle's hands, and without even minding the heat, grabbed a piece of stewed meat, blackened and unrecognizable, and shoved it into his mouth. "Don't eat that," I shouted instinctively, but it was already too late. My cousin wolfed down a couple of bites, then his face twisted in disgust, and he spat everything out with a series of disgusted sputters. With a pained expression, he cried out, "What is this? It's sour, stinky, and bitter," for the foul, rotten stench, which had been barely masked by the heavy seasoning, became even more pronounced. The so-called gaokao care meal is clearly a culinary disaster made by stewing rotten meat and vegetables that have been moldy and spoiled for over a week, with excessive soy sauce and spices. My mother was trembling with rage, pointing at them and yelling, "Get out, all of you, get out, if you dare harass us again. I'm calling the police right now." "Wait," I stopped them, pointing at my cousin who had already started retching. "He ate that stuff. You'd better take him to the hospital immediately. Don't delay. Who needs a hospital? Kids get stomach aches all the time. Just drink some warm water and you'll be fine. No point wasting money on doctors." Grandma immediately started shaking her head like a rattle drum at the mention of spending money. Uncle chimed in, saying I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Watching them, I felt a wave of sadness. My father's frugality above all philosophy had clearly brainwashed them too. I later heard what happened from the neighbors. My cousin started vomiting and having diarrhea as soon as he got home, with a high fever that wouldn't break. My dad insisted there was no need to go to the hospital, confidently treating my cousin with various folk remedies, forcing him to drink ginger water, feeding him wood ash, wiping him down with water boiled from some unknown herbs. After 3 full days of this torment, my cousin was left half dead and on the verge of death. Only then did my grandmother and uncle panic, frantically rushing him to the hospital while weeping and wailing. The diagnosis was severe acute gastroenteritis with a bacterial infection. Any later, and it could have been life-threatening. My cousin's mother, my aunt, who had been staying at her parents' home for a few days, rushed back from out of town upon hearing the news. Seeing her son gaunt and emaciated, she immediately turned on my grandmother and the others, crying and yelling that they were all terrible people who had nearly killed her son. In the end, my aunt was furious. After completing the discharge procedures, she took my cousin and went straight back to her parents' home without another word, vowing never to set foot in her in-laws' house again. Well, that's just great. Now there's one less person at grandma's who could keep my dad in check. My father's control over the household is now completely solidified. This whole farce has only strengthened my resolve to ace the exams and get far away from these absurd people and their ridiculous drama. After the college entrance exams, I felt pretty good about how I did. While we waited for my exam results, my mother's career reached new heights. She won a respectable design award and expanded her studio. Using her savings and a loan, she bought a 3-bedroom apartment in an upscale downtown neighborhood. The day she got the keys, the sun was shining brightly. My mother held my hand as we stood on the spacious balcony, gazing at the distant city skyline with overwhelming emotion. "Freya, we have our own home now. A real home that's truly ours, warm, safe, and secure. I'm absolutely thrilled too. Finally, in this lifetime, my mother and I have a shelter from the storms of life." But the drama on my father's side just keeps going. I heard grandma is trying to set my dad up on a blind date, hoping to find a woman to take care of him so he can have his own family and stop being a burden on them. One potential match is a divorced migrant worker from out of town who has a child. Her circumstances aren't great, and she's looking to team up with a local to get by. When they met, my dad showed his sincerity by treating her to a bowl of cold noodles that cost 7 yuan. After eating, he had the nerve to insist on splitting the bill, saying, "Since it's our first time meeting, let's keep things fair. You pay 350, and I'll pay 350. The woman immediately flew into a rage, slammed the 350 on the table, yelled "You're insane," and stormed off. This incident quickly became the neighborhood's latest joke. The long-term consequences of my father's frugality finally began to show. First, my uncles started suffering from frequent stomach aches and diarrhea. Then my grandmother also started experiencing frequent abdominal discomfort and loss of appetite. Eventually, even my father began showing symptoms of jaundice and overall weakness. At first, they didn't take it seriously, thinking it was just ordinary food poisoning, until one day, when both my grandmother and father were suffering from unbearable abdominal pain, our neighbors found them and rushed them to the hospital. The examination results left everyone stunned. After long-term consumption of moldy food and excessive intake of aflatoxin, the entire family developed varying degrees of liver damage and poisoning symptoms. My father, in particular, has severe liver fibrosis bordering on cirrhosis due to years of testing toxins on his own body. His penny-pinching habit is actually a trait he inherited from my grandfather. My grandfather was the same way. He couldn't bear to throw anything away and would eat whatever was available, ultimately dying young from an unexplained liver disease. That cutting board passed down through 3 generations turned out to be one of the culprits. On the day the college entrance exam results came out, my mom was even more nervous than I was. When we saw my score, 702 points, which guaranteed my admission to Tsinghua University, my mom hugged me and cried tears of joy. This score was over 80 points higher than what I got in my previous life. My Freya, you're absolutely incredible, you've made your mother so proud, my mom kept repeating, her words tumbling out in joyful disbelief. I knew this wasn't just my own achievement, it was my mother's unwavering support and unconditional love that gave me the strongest foundation. Without her, none of this would have been possible. On the day I received my acceptance letter from Tsinghua University, my mom specially invited my grandmother and a few close neighbors over for a celebratory feast at home. Seeing everyone's beaming faces filled my heart with gratitude and contentment. Before the semester began, I made a decision. I went to the hospital alone to visit my father, who was still hospitalized. Lying in the hospital bed, he looked gaunt and sallow, a shadow of his former vigorous self. When he saw me, a faint flicker of emotion passed through his clouded eyes, only to be quickly replaced by bitterness and weariness. I set down the carton of imported pure milk I was carrying onto the bedside table. The moment he recognized the brand of the milk, he flew into a rage, his voice hoarse as he cursed, "You wasteful girl, buying such expensive things again, just like your mother. Don't you know how to save money? Couldn't you just buy the cheapest kind? You just had to go and waste it." I looked at him calmly and said, "The doctor says you need to build up your strength with some nutrients, this body of mine. Even drinking water is a waste," he gasped, struggling for breath. "What's the point of staying in the hospital? It's just throwing my money away, hundreds a day. This is killing me." I watched him, this man who, in his obsession with saving money, had sacrificed his own and his family's health, even jeopardized his daughter's future, and here he was, in his final moments, still fixated on the money he could never take with him. I said nothing more and quietly turned to leave the hospital room. Behind me, his intermittent curses and pained murmurs about the medical bills still faintly reached my ears. The police arrived quickly. I knew he probably didn't have much time left. He had practiced frugality his entire life, only to ultimately be consumed by it. Stepping out of the hospital, the sunlight was blinding. I looked up at the azure sky and let out a long, deep breath. His life had come to an end in a tragically absurd way, but mine was just turning a brand new page. Story 2. At the age of 18, my blood accidentally dripped onto the family heirloom jade bracelet, and I discovered that it contained a space. And on the other side of the space was connected to a woman. I helped her buy food and supplies, then placed them in the space, and she collected gold for me. We exchanged what we needed happily this way, but when she had gathered enough supplies and food, she put gold tainted with zombie blood in the space, causing me to endure inhuman pain and turn into a zombie, which led to the death of my parents and familiar neighbors. Before my consciousness completely disappeared, I heard Lila's frenzied voice, "How dare your world be destroyed? How dare I be toyed with by those disgusting people, and you can live so happily. You deserve to go to hell with me." Perhaps my overwhelming hatred moved heaven, allowing me to be reborn back to the day I first communicated with Lila. This life, I decided to hand it over to the state and take revenge on the two-faced, venomous-hearted Lila. "Iris, thank you, you're so kind. Besides food and water, could you help me buy some women's clothes and jewelry? Please, Iris, are you listening? Why aren't you speaking?" The familiar voice rang in my ears, starting off coquettishly but gradually getting louder, even becoming somewhat annoying. It was this voice's owner, Lila, who caused my death in my past life. Just hearing this voice now made me feel repulsed, but as my dizzy head gradually cleared, I couldn't help but be startled. Didn't I already die? I opened my eyes wide. The surroundings were clean and tidy, as if the excruciating pain and the ground littered with corpses were just a dream. In my previous life, the space I awakened was empty, a vast expanse of white, without any of the magical function seen in novels. Still, I stored quite a bit of food inside the jade bracelet, just in case a doomsday or natural disaster really occurred someday. But about half a month after putting the food into the space, I found that the food was slowly disappearing, and a woman's voice appeared in the space. That's when I realized that the other side of the space was bound to a woman living in a post-apocalyptic world. From Lila's account, I learned that she lived in a world ravaged by disasters. In her world, natural calamities and man-made disasters were constant, either cold waves or heat waves, and there were zombies everywhere. Humans struggled desperately. A bag of expired bread or even slightly contaminated water could be traded for a woman, status, or shelter. Gold and jewels no longer held any value. Even a bottle of pure water could be exchanged for a truckload of gold. Lila begged me to help her procure supplies, and she would trade gold and jewels with me greedily. I agreed, never expecting it to result in the deaths of my family and friends and the fall of an entire city. But this time, Lila, are you ready to face me? Returning from hell, regaining consciousness from the space, reborn again. I didn't want to deal with her or show her any courtesy, nor did I want to speak kindly to her or show her any good face. After all, she should be more afraid of losing me than I truly needing her at this moment. I just wanted to see my parents, relatives, friends, and this familiar environment. In my past life, I was infected right in my bedroom. My parents called me for dinner because they hadn't seen me for a long time. In their panic, they rushed into my room, but as soon as they entered, they found me collapsed on the ground, my body turning blue and purple. In their panic, they quickly picked me up and rushed downstairs, intending to take me to the hospital, but just as my father carried me downstairs, I, having fully turned into a zombie, directly bit his neck. My mother, already flustered because I had collapsed, fainted upon seeing the scene. The neighbors who had lived together for decades saw this and hurriedly came over to help. This is also how the zombie virus spread at an unstoppable speed, this life. Looking at the familiar furniture, I pinched myself. It hurts. How nice. This isn't a dream. Opening the bedroom door, looking at the familiar home and my mom pickling vegetables in the kitchen, I felt a lump in my throat and rushed over to hug her not-so-slim waist. Tears flowed uncontrollably. Mom, what's for dinner tonight? Afraid that Mom would notice something unusual, I said lightly, you little devil, you want to scare me to death, always asking what to eat. Let go. It's so hot. You're not hot, but I am. Busy all day and you don't come out to help, and when you finally do, you scare me. Learn from your aunt upstairs. Her daughter studies well and helps with housework. Look at you, such a gluttonous girl. Aren't you embarrassed? Hearing Mom's familiar nagging, my uneasy heart gradually calmed down, and the unsettling feeling slowly disappeared. The warm touch and familiar nagging were genuinely reminding me that this wasn't a dream. How nice. The people I love are still alive around me. Afraid that Mom would notice anything unusual, I quickly wiped away my tears and coyly said, I just miss your sweet and sour pork, and you're scolding me. You haven't made it for so long. All right, I'll make it for you. How did I end up with such a greedy girl like you? Hearing this, I ran away. If I didn't run, Mom's endless nagging would keep coming at me one after another. You and your dad aren't this greedy. How did our genes mutate like this? As I closed the bedroom door, I heard Mom muttering. I couldn't help but chuckle. In my past life, my parents, loved ones, and friends all suffered because of me. This life, I want to protect them while eating all the delicious food in the world. Before I died in my past life, thinking about all the food I missed out on because of dieting, I wanted to beat myself to death. Yes, I'm just a super duper greedy girl sitting on the bed. I looked up online on how to hand over the awakened space to the state. I asked shall I, and it told me that there is no such thing as space in this world. It only exists in novels. Sure enough, artificial intelligence isn't very reliable. Then I looked at the responses from netizens. Most suggested going directly to the police station or handing it over to the relevant authorities. But as ordinary citizens, how could we know where the relevant authorities are? Deciding to go to the police station, I looked at the time. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and I decided to have lunch before heading out to handle this important matter. Heaven and earth are vast, but eating is the most important. As for Lila still shouting in the space, starving her to death would be too merciful for her right now. I could only vent my anger impotently because we weren't in the same world. I couldn't see her or touch her. I could only communicate verbally with her, but it didn't matter. I believed there would be opportunities later. I couldn't remain indifferent like chrysanthemums. I bore grudges and believed revenge was my life motto. At noon, after satisfyingly eating an entire plate of sweet and sour pork, I patted my round belly, changed into something more concealing, and headed to the nearest police station from home. Looking at the grand entrance of the police station, I hesitated for a long time. Having never entered a police station before, I naturally felt a bit lost. Thinking about what I read online, I mustered up the courage to walk in and timidly said to the policewoman at the front desk who was handling business, I want to see your chief. I have very important information to convey. Maybe my voice was too soft. The front desk police officer looked at me with confusion. I want to see your chief. I have very important information to convey. Seeing that the front desk officer might not have heard clearly, I repeated myself. The surrounding police officers, upon hearing what I said, suddenly quieted down and all turned to look at me. I felt somewhat at a loss, perhaps overly nervous, and even burped loudly with the taste of sweet and sour pork. Hearing the laughter around me, I lowered my head, wishing I hadn't eaten so much. Laugh away, laugh away. I stared at the cracks on the floor, wanting to crawl into them at this moment. Who understands? It's so embarrassing. Little sister, this is no place for you to joke around. False alarms can lead to detention. This is no laughing matter. The front desk officer was also stunned, probably not expecting me to ask to see the chief, but still politely told me, little girl, if you have something to say, you can tell me. If it's really important, I will relay it to the chief. The chief is in a meeting right now. Seeing the front desk officer still looked skeptical, I became even more hesitant. I glanced around at the seemingly entertained police officers. The experience of being victimized in my past life made me now reluctant to trust anyone easily, and with so many people around, if I blurted out these bizarre things that happened to me here, there might be ill-intentioned people who would harm my family. At this moment, I finally felt like I had grown a brain. Seeing me hesitate and not speak, the front desk officer looked helpless. Little girl, how about this? The chief isn't here, but our Captain Finn is. If you have something to say, you can tell our captain. I nodded, feeling relieved. Such an outcome was much better than blurting it out in public. The captain mentioned by the front desk girl was towering at 1.95 m, muscular, with sharp and handsome features, but exuding a strong sense of intimidation. In my past life, when my Consciousness hadn't completely dissipated. I saw this man, at that time, after I had just bitten my father to the ground and ferociously lunged at others. He was the first to carry my unconscious mother to safety, but when Finn turned back to try to stop the chaos, he found that all the people who had been strolling outside the neighborhood had turned into zombies, and my mother, who had somehow survived, seeing my father and me wandering around everywhere, actually walked towards us. Finn looked at me, furrowed his thick eyebrows, and directly led me to a room often seen in TV interrogation scenes. Let me introduce myself. I'm Finn. You can completely trust me and tell me everything that has happened to you. Finn sat upright in front of me. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at me. Those eyes seemed to see through everything I was thinking. Feeling uneasy, I lowered my head, unable to meet his gaze. His eyes were too piercing, and his presence was overwhelmingly intimidating. I organized my thoughts and began to slowly recount everything that had happened to me. Finn sat quietly across from me, not interrupting me despite the fantastical nature of what I was saying. But when I mentioned the apocalypse, I saw Finn roll his eyes and operate something on the computer. I felt the walls around me darken. Miss Iris, what you're saying is too far-fetched. Do you have any evidence? For example, can you demonstrate the space you mentioned, if you're just making things up from novels? This counts as a false alarm. After listening to what I said, Finn's expression was very serious, and I couldn't read his thoughts. I didn't say anything more. I knew what I said sounded far-fetched, but it really did happen. I looked at the table and chair in front of me, focused my mind, and stored them in the space. I looked up at Finn and saw his previously calm expression instantly become stunned. He rubbed his eyes incredulously. See, what I said is true. Finn didn't reply. He quickly walked over to where the chair used to be, touching left and right, but nothing was there. There was nothing left in the room except emptiness, which was enough to prove everything I had just said. I believe that if it weren't for the surveillance footage, Finn would have thought I was a magician, and this was all sleight of hand. Miss Iris, please wait a moment. I need to report this upwards. With that, Finn hurried out of the interrogation room and locked the door behind him. I stood dumbfounded in the middle of the interrogation room, watching Finn's retreating figure stretch out an awkward hand. What the heck, man? You interrogated me for so long and just left like that. Couldn't you leave the door unlocked? It's already 6 p.m. I'm hungry. I don't know what will happen next, but after this whole ordeal and questioning, I'm really hungry. I'm hungry. Can someone get me something to eat? Taking the table and chairs out again, I lazily leaned on the table, counting my fingers with my mind wandering in the space to find any leftover food. Meanwhile, Finn, who saw me take the chairs and table out again on the surveillance footage, was seriously talking on the phone. I saw him export a video file in the monitoring room and then quickly delete the record, even erasing all the videos of me entering the police station. I don't know how long I waited. Only when Finn returned and took me to the top floor office in the police station did I see his even more serious face, rubbing my already flattened stomach. I dared not speak and decided to consider it a diet. Soon, a bald man with a beer belly, resembling a laughing Buddha, wearing a police uniform, walked into this office and extended his hand to me. Hello, you must be Miss Iris. You can call me Chief, or you can call me Uncle. I quickly extended my hand to shake hands with the chief, never having met such important figures before. I naturally felt a bit uneasy at this moment, but my hungry stomach wouldn't compromise. It broke the silence with a growl. Please tell me where there's a hole I can crawl into. I think my face must be beet red right now, even redder than a monkey's certain part. Finn, it's not early anymore. Quickly take Miss Iris to the canteen to eat. After she eats well, we'll talk. Indeed, the meals provided by public servants were excellent. The scrambled eggs with tomatoes covered on rice, paired with a bowl of hot soup, and a few bites of fried meat slices. It was incredibly delicious. Unsurprisingly, I ate until I was stuffed. Looking at me, Finn's expression finally softened, almost as if he was suppressing a laugh, following his gaze. Indeed, my clothes couldn't hide my little belly anymore. Returning to the top floor office, full and satisfied, I sat on the sofa and started daydreaming. I didn't know what would happen to me next. Would I be taken for dissection and research? But being dissected and studied would still be better than seeing my familiar relatives and friends turn into zombies, right? I suddenly felt proud of myself. How could this not count as contributing to the country? But as I thought about it, I got a bit scared. Dissection must be very painful. Wouldn't that mean I couldn't eat whole roasted lamb or seafood anymore? The more I thought about it, the more panicked I became. How could I not think before rushing here? What if they wanted to dissect me, after all? I've heard stories online about country people conducting human experiments frequently. Could it be possible that our country also has those crazy people conducting human experiments? I should have eaten all the delicious food before coming here. Perhaps noticing my furrowed brows deep in thought, Finn patted my shoulder. Startled by Finn, I accidentally blurted out my inner thoughts. I was so embarrassed that I immediately lowered my head. At that moment, I wished I could die again and turn back time. It seems my worry for you is for nothing. Seeing Finn roll his eyes, I was filled with annoyance. Who told you to Scare me suddenly, glutton girl, can't you stop thinking about food all the time? If I don't think about food, should I think about you? Huh, why was there no response? I looked up at Finn and found that his handsome bronze face actually had a tinge of red. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a handsome guy? I have. One is far away in the sky, and the other is right in front of me. I chuckled. This Finn seemed like a tough guy at first, but turned out to be a little puppy dog. He was so cute. Seeing Finn looking speechless, I was secretly delighted. No wonder everyone likes to tease handsome guys. This feeling is really great. After a while, I saw the police chief leading the mayor, Landon, who often appeared on TV, push the door and enter. The mayor looked even more amiable and his aura more majestic than on TV. He might have noticed my nervousness and took the initiative to speak. Are you Miss Iris? I'm the mayor of this city. My name is Landon. You can also call me Uncle. This matter has been reported to the country's top leadership. Do you think it's convenient for you to go to the capital with us? What has happened to you is of great significance to the country. I opened my mouth, thinking of my parents at home. I was afraid that if I didn't go back tonight, they would worry, but everyone present was very shrewd and could easily see my concerns. Miss Iris, don't be nervous. Just say whatever's on your mind. The country will definitely do what it can for you. You can also make any request you want. I looked up at the police chief and then at the mayor. Any request. I want money, an endless amount of money. I want my parents by my side. I want a chef who can cook all kinds of delicious food. I also want to travel to beautiful Tibet. Cough. Just thinking about it, I'm too embarrassed to actually say it out loud. I'll work hard on my own for these ideas in the future. I can't be so cheeky as to make any demands on the country right now. After all, one should know one's place. My parents are still at home. I'm worried that if I leave with you just like this, they'll be worried. The mayor nodded upon hearing this. Little girl, you're very filial. It was our oversight. I'll have someone inform them right away. Filial? Not really. If it weren't for the feather duster hanging at the door, I wouldn't have thought of telling them. I'm simply scared of being beaten. Thank you. Uncle Landon. The mayor smiled at me. Don't worry, miss Iris, leave it to me. I'll have someone go to your school to find your homeroom teacher and ask the teacher to tell your parents. Don't worry. Hearing this, I was completely reassured. Sometimes, the homeroom teacher is the ultimate solution for parents. I nodded in agreement. I don't have any money with me. Can I make a call to my parents and ask them to transfer some money to me? No need. I'll file an application. Someone will transfer money to you soon. Is 10 million enough? Enough. I'll give you my bank card number. I couldn't control my big smile out of joy, seeing the three of them looking teasingly at me. Well, loving money is human nature. I'm rich now. This is much more money than in my last life, and it comes legitimately. In my last life, Lila was extremely stingy basically, every time the gold and jewelry she gave were equivalent in price to the supplies. I was so stupid to let her raise supplies so quickly in the apocalypse world. Inside a dirty and messy tent, Lila was disheveled, holding a jade pendant in her hand with a ferocious expression. Could this jade pendant have malfunctioned? But clearly that woman said before, and the items I got from it before were all real and there was no spoilage at all. But why can't I contact Iris now? Just then, the tent curtain flipped and a dirty man came in. He casually threw an expired biscuit to Lila and started taking off his clothes. Lila, who had just found some support in life, didn't want to be arbitrarily humiliated anymore at this moment, and it was this dirty, stinky man who hadn't taken a bath. She immediately resisted, but in the man's eyes, Lila's resistance was just foreplay. The strength gap between men and women was not insignificant. Moreover, this woman had been slept with by him countless times. Lila's resistance instead aroused his desire even more. After struggling in vain and being knocked to the ground by 2 slaps, Lila, watching the man act recklessly on her, cursing in her mouth, she stared at the man with a vicious look. Normally, the man would be done in a few minutes, but this time, hearing the curses, he actually stayed in the tent for a full hour. After the man had his fill, he spat at Lila while putting on his clothes. You performed well this time. Next time I come, I'll give you an extra biscuit. Lila glared at the man fiercely and didn't respond. The man didn't care about Lila's expression and directly walked out of the tent, looking at the man's back. Lila lay naked on the tattered bedding with unknown liquid on it, staring blankly at the tent roof with several holes. After who knows how long, Lila got up to put on her already tattered clothes and walked out of the narrow tent. In the modern world, just as I got on the private plane with Finn and waved goodbye to the mayor and the police chief, I felt that the space was constantly heating up. Out of curiosity, when I entered the space with my consciousness, I heard Lila repeating my name. Her voice didn't even have the coquettishness she used to pretend. It was a bit hoarse. She must have been shouting for a long time. In my last life, whenever she called me, I would reply immediately. I never made her wait this long, which led to her increasingly arrogant attitude towards me later. But in this life, listening to her tone, there was actually a hint of pleading. This secretly delighted me. Indeed, people can't be too indulgent. You haven't given me any gold yet, nor any valuable things. I don't have any money myself either. What can I use to buy supplies for you? Also, listening to her chanting my name like a mantra, I gradually became impatient. A toad on the instep doesn't bite, but it's annoying. Why don't you prepare a few caddies of gold for me first? Otherwise, I won't put any food in the space. But I'm a weak woman. It's extremely difficult for me to survive in this apocalypse. Iris, can you give me something first? I promise I'll definitely pay you back later. No credit. Figure it out on your own. Hearing that there was finally no sound in the space, I could imagine that with her personality, she must be stomping her feet in anger now. In my last life, I was afraid she would be hungry, so at first I used my own money to buy food for her. Later, perhaps because she thought the food I bought was too little, she started using gold and jewelry to exchange for supplies with me, and every time I received the gold and jewelry she gave, I would immediately sell them and then hurriedly prepare food for her. I was so busy that my feet didn't touch the ground and I didn't get much hard-earned money. In my last life, I always forgot that she was the one who needed help from me, and our relationship was not that of an employer-employee, but a cooperation. I could have completely used the supplies to hold her in check, but I was so stupid in my last life. Now when I think about it, I slap myself from my last life a few times. Iris, I'm really starving, and a man just bullied me. I have no choice. Iris, please give me a piece of bread. Hearing Lila's pitiful voice, out of mischief, I asked Finn for a canned herring. Okay, consider it me taking pity on you. Thank you, Iris. What is this? Ugh, haha. Stupid Lila. Our nuclear weapon canned herring is no joke. Haha. You gave that canned herring to that woman in the apocalypse world. Yeah, it made Lila vomit. Haha. Lila won't eat it, right? That can has expired for several months. Haha. That would be great. I entered the space with my consciousness again. Lila, you ate my canned food. Remember to pay up quickly. It took a long time for Lila's gritted teeth voice to come. Iris, I don't have any powers. I don't dare to go out of the base to look for these things for you. You don't know how the zombies outside are. Powers. What's that? Nothing. In my last life, I never heard her mention powers. In this life, it seems everything has changed, but it's okay. We're about to land, no matter if it's zombies or powers. I believe the country can solve them. Soon we arrived in the capital. The place where the plane landed was surrounded by many special police. They took me to a military base. After going through layers of checks, they finally brought me in front of the chief. Seeing the old chief who often appeared on TV, I was extremely excited. This is the hero in the hearts of all the people in the country. I never thought that a nobody like me could one day see the hero of our country with my own eyes and even shake hands with him. I immediately decided that I wouldn't wash this hand in the future. Comrade Iris, you've had a tough time these days. Thank you for trusting the country. You can make any request to us. We will definitely meet your needs if we can. Feeling the kind gaze of the old chief, the unease and anxiety in my heart finally settled at this moment. I couldn't control myself and actually shed tears. Perhaps my previous performance was too calm and mature. The leaders and the chief present were a bit at a loss and even looked a bit stunned when they saw me crying, but after coming to their senses, they still gathered around me and comforted me in a low voice. But humans are really strange. I clearly wanted to hold back my tears, but the tears just wouldn't listen and flowed more and more, especially when I heard the chief's words of comfort. My tears couldn't be controlled even more. Yes, I'm just an 18-year-old girl. I haven't experienced any setbacks. There's no intrigue in the workplace around me, and I don't understand the sinister nature of people. In my last life, because of my selfishness and stupidity, millions of people died, and I witnessed the human tragedy caused by me with my own eyes. How painful my heart was, no one knew. This was even more painful than the physical pain when I was infected by zombies. Guilt, self-blame, and regret filled my heart. After being reborn, I've been pretending to be calm and hiding my inner unease and fear of the future. Even at my age, which loves to fantasize, it's inevitable to think that after handing over the secret, I would be imprisoned and end up on the operating table for human dissection. But after seeing the old chief and feeling his concern, the calm I had tried so hard to maintain collapsed at this moment. I don't know what happened after that. When I opened my eyes again, I saw everything white around me. Feeling the swelling in my eyes, I didn't expect that I had actually cried myself unconscious. The door creaked open, and I embarrassedly covered my head with the quilt. Don't be embarrassed. Come out quickly. Don't suffocate yourself later. Hearing Finn's teasing voice, I slowly and embarrassedly exposed my head. I saw Caden, the chief's secretary, and Finn standing next to the hospital bed together. Miss Iris, do you still feel uncomfortable anywhere? Seeing Caden press the nurse call button at the head of the bed, I quickly shook my head to stop him. I'm fine. Was just emotional for a while. Don't worry, I want to talk to the chief now and tell him everything that has happened to me. Is that okay? Yes, I didn't say in the police station that I was reborn. I only said that I got a space and that the space was connected to a person in the apocalypse world. Miss Iris, I'll have the doctor examine you again. After confirming that you're okay, we'll be discharged from the hospital. Iris, don't worry, it won't take long. I looked at the determined expressions of the two of them. Okay, after the doctor came, he examined my body comprehensively again, and he told Caden and Finn that I was fine and could be discharged from the hospital. After being discharged from the hospital, we saw the old chief again. This time I honestly calmed my heart and suppressed my hatred. I told the old chief everything that had happened to me in my last life in detail. After listening, the old chief pondered for a moment and asked Caden to call a meeting, and he asked Finn to take me to a villa. Iris, this villa will be yours from now on. This is a reward from the chief. Are you happy? You can live here with peace of mind in the future, and you can also bring your family to live with you. Really? That's great. I'll tell my family now. I happily ran around in the villa. Wow, the chief is so good to me in my last life, because I really liked Beijing. I studied very hard for a long time and barely made it to apply to Peking University. But before I could actually enter Peking University, the city I lived in was destroyed. I never thought that in this life, I would come to the capital in advance and even own a villa of my own. After the excitement, I remembered that there was someone else in the villa. I turned around and saw Finn holding his phone facing me. What are you doing? Recording a monkey. Hey, do you want a beating? I raised my fist and rushed towards Finn, but Finn, as expected of a Special Forces member, was so agile that he ran out of the villa almost in the blink of an eye. You go to sleep first. I'll take you to eat Peking duck tomorrow. Unable to catch up with Finn, I stamped my feet in anger. Since you're going to take me to eat duck, I'll forgive you. Haha. Hearing the laughter coming from afar, I gritted my teeth and decided to eat 2 ducks tomorrow. In the evening, after calling my parents to tell them I was safe, I held my phone and walked around the villa again, showing it to my parents in detail. This villa has 3 floors in total and is decorated in a Chinese style. It looks high-end and grand. You know, this villa is located in the second ring road of Beijing, and there's a big yard outside the villa. Our Iris has really made it. I never thought that one day we could live in a villa in Beijing thanks to Iris. Of course, look at who gave birth to her. Without me, could you give birth alone? It's still my family's genes. Stop bragging. Hearing my parents bickering, I helplessly hung up the phone. The next day, before I woke up, Finn dug me out of bed and took me to a research base. Here I saw many leaders who had appeared on TV. They all smiled kindly at me. They formed a think tank, specifically responsible for my communication with Lila, and in every communication, I would more or less annoy Lila. For example, when communicating with her, I accidentally put hot pot into the space, or barbecue, or spicy hot pot. The main thing is to make you see it but not be able to eat it and not be able to grab it. Every time it made Lila grind her teeth in anger. Because of the excellence of our country's think tank, we finally got the truth about zombies and powers from Lila's mouth. It turns out that there are 2 types of zombies. One is high-level zombies and the other is rotten flesh zombies. High-level zombies have their own thinking ability and can absorb crystal nuclei to continuously upgrade. Both the zombie level and the power user level are divided into levels 1 to 10. Level 1 is the weakest and level 10 is the strongest. Currently, the strongest zombie known in Lila's world is level 7. Some of them can even communicate like humans and have formed their own zombie kingdoms, and through understanding the crystal nuclei of high-level zombies can make humans awaken powers after special treatment. Moreover, even if infected by high-level zombies, there is a 50% chance of becoming a power user. But rotten flesh zombies are real walking corpses and the lowest level existence in the apocalypse world. They can't upgrade, and the humans they scratch have no chance of awakening powers. This is why in the city where I was born and grew up in my last life, millions of people didn't have a single person awakening powers. Because of my experience in my last life, the country didn't give a large amount of supplies all at once. Each time, the supplies given were only a small van load. If you want supplies, you have to exchange them with 1 ton of metal, or 1 ton of gasoline, coal, etc. You're simply taking advantage of the situation. It's very dangerous for us to go out and search for supplies. One person can't go alone. We need a team, but the supplies you give us at one time are only enough for us to eat for a week. Seeing the words written by the think tank members across from me, take it or leave it. If you don't want to, forget it. You should understand that it's you who need me, not the other way around. I held a fried chicken in my hand and chewed. But if you bring me 10 high-level zombie crystal nuclei, I can give you the supplies of 3 vans. Chew, chew. Do you know how hard it is to get 10 high-level zombie crystal nuclei? The most I can accept is 5. Slurp. I withdrew my consciousness from the space and threw a few chicken bones I had eaten into the space. Then I ignored Lila in the space. Is she really not going to fly into a rage? Don't worry. It's already the 16th year of the apocalypse over there. All the edible things have expired, rotted, or been completely consumed. I suspect that some people have even started cannibalism. She won't be able to hold out, Lucen of the think tank said with confidence. But if we don't give her supplies, will everyone in their world die out? In your last life, when you gave her enough supplies, it was our country that was destroyed. Iris, you have to respect other people's fates. Maverick of the think tank looked at me. Iris, if they really want to survive, they will agree to our exchange. Even if we go a little further, they will have to agree. Forcing her like this actually has some advantages. She can't complete these requirements alone, so she will definitely ask others for help. Many hands make light work. At that time, those who have contributed will all get a share of the food. I nodded. Indeed, with Lila's selfish personality, no matter how much food she has, she will only store it in the space or in a place she knows and won't share it with others. But if the task is difficult and she wants food, she will have to ask others for help. Then, how much food she can get will be uncertain. In the apocalypse world, Lila clutched her stomach and rushed quickly to the bathroom. Damn Iris, you actually poisoned the chicken bones. The chicken bones cried out. Modern humans are used to eating gutter oil, so their stomachs are used to it. At this time, Lila was no longer as embarrassed as she was at first. Instead, she was dressed very exquisitely. She walked out of the bathroom weakly, swaying her hips, still cursing. Soon, Lila entered a magnificent villa. She ran coquettishly towards the man sitting on the living room sofa, who was talking to his subordinate beside him, and said in a sweet voice, Caden, I have something to tell you. Don't you see I'm talking to Nolan? But Caden, what I want to talk about is about supplies. Nolan is not an outsider. Go ahead, Caden. The female college student my power is connected to has a lot of food and supplies, but she said that 1 ton of metal can only be exchanged for a few boxes of instant noodles. Am I really useless? I begged her so much, and she only agreed to give the supplies of 1 van. Lila shed tears and cried in Caden's arms. Caden showed a look of disgust and slightly raised his hand to cover his nose, but Lila, who had buried her head in Caden's arms, didn't see it. Oh, then can't you use your power to teleport us to that world, Caden? But my power is only at level 1, now I can only teleport supplies. It's all my fault. You're already very good, Lila. Your power is the savior of all of us. Don't underestimate yourself. I have 20 crystal nuclei here. You can take them first to upgrade your power. I'll send someone to collect metal now. Lila slowly raised her head from Caden's arms and nodded with a smile. Seeing that Lila had raised her head, Caden quickly put down the hand covering his nose. Caden, she also wants crystal nuclei. She said that 5 crystal nuclei can be exchanged for the supplies of 1 van. Caden frowned and asked in confusion, what does she want crystal nuclei for? Humph, if she wants them, give them to her. We have a lot of level 1 crystal nuclei. Come to think of it, we're actually making a profit from this exchange. A greedy person like her, if she dies, so be it. Anyway, you can use your power to connect with someone else later. Hearing this, a hint of unnaturalness flashed in Lila's eyes, and Caden, who was experienced and shrewd, how could he not notice? But he still needed to keep her around for now. As for what secrets Lila had, Caden thought that one day he would figure it out slowly. Nolan, take Lila to get the crystal nuclei. Remember, only take level 1 crystal nuclei, Caden said, really unable to stand the smell on Lila. Okay, Caden, my life matters too. Nolan, who smelled the smell on Lila beside him, looked at Caden with resentment. In the modern world, soon it was the day I started school. After 3 months of research, the country has invented a lot of high-tech products and trained many power users. They even discovered that crystal nuclei can stabilize nuclear energy, and there is hope to become the first country on Blue Star to use nuclear energy through the research of crystal nuclei. And now the Research Institute has just opened a new research room. They are researching the Jade Bracelet space to see if there is a way to teleport people there. I stood at the school gate of Peking University, looked at my parents who were smiling at me, arm in arm, and waved goodbye to them. In my last life, I turned into a zombie before I could enter university, and because of my experience in the laboratory in this life, I became extremely interested in physics, so I applied for the physics major. Because of my importance to the country has openly sent Finn to protect me, and there are many people secretly protecting me. My life is full of flavor. Teasing the easily shy Finn occasionally is also my biggest hobby. 1 year of university passed quickly. In this year, Lila has gotten used to eating gutter oil food. Even under the food I specially selected, she has successfully gained a lot of weight. According to Lila, she also has a lot of pimples on her face, and the zombie king in the apocalypse world is getting stronger and stronger, and the living space for humans is getting smaller and smaller, resulting in less and less metal from Lila, but more and more crystal nuclei each time. This also means that our country's science and technology lack no energy, and our developing rapidly. It was also on this day that the Research Institute finally figured out how to bring people into the jade bracelet space. Not long ago, the Research Institute discovered that the jade bracelet and Lila's jade pendant have a master-servant relationship. I am the master on my side, and Lila is the servant on her side. If the owner of the jade bracelet dies, the two jade pendants will also disappear, and the person who owns the jade bracelet can bring people to the world of the person who owns the jade pendant. Conversely, the owner of the jade pendant cannot bring people to the side of the jade bracelet owner. Moreover, the jade pendant can change its owner at will without affecting the owner of the jade bracelet. This news made me sigh. Lila, unexpected, right? In my last life, you killed me. You painstakingly stored so many supplies, but after I died, they all disappeared with me. I really want to see your expression at that time, but even though the Research Institute knows the secret of the jade bracelet, they don't dare to easily send our country's elites there directly, so recently, they are going to use live animals such as rabbits and hens, along with newly developed communication devices, to teleport them there together. In the past year, with the rapid development of our country's science and technology, nuclear-powered cars, nuclear-powered power supplies, nuclear-powered aircraft and other high-tech products have been born one after another, and the nuclear-powered spaceship that was just built not long ago can reach the cold star in 1 hour. This news shocked everyone on Blue Star. It also made our country become the #1 country on Blue Star. As a matter of course, other countries have successively submitted to us. Our country is magnanimous and doesn't hold grudges, but it requires the countries that have bullied our country to publicly apologize and return our cultural relics. Iris, come to the laboratory. Quickly, receiving Finn's call, I knew that today the live body teleportation experiment was going to be carried out, so I quickly went to the laboratory. When I arrived at the laboratory, after going through several disinfection procedures, I put on a protective suit and walked in clumsily. As soon as I walked in, I saw many people in protective suits like me gathered together. Iris, come and try to see if these animals can be put into the space. Looking at the small animals that were tightly wrapped by various devices, I was a bit confused. Can they still run like this? Haha, whether they can run or not doesn't matter. The main thing is to test whether our equipment works. Okay, as I spoke, I put 3 chickens and 3 rabbits into the space. I started to try to control the jade pendant with the jade bracelet without going through Lila and teleport these animals out. Finally, after 3 minutes, success. Quick, everyone get moving and connect the equipment in the laboratory, except for Finn and me, who were still standing there stupidly, unable to get a hand in and help. Everyone else in the machines were immediately busy. Device no, 1 connection failed. Device no, 5 connection failed. Listening to a series of reports, my heart gradually rose. Finally, device no, 71 connection successful. Hearing this, Finn grabbed my hand and rushed to the front row of the no 71 screen ahead of everyone else, making a group of out-of-shape researchers blow their beards and stare in anger, ignoring these old urchin. I looked at the flickering snow on the screen and felt a burst of nervousness. Lila, I'm about to see you. Are you looking forward to it? The snow gradually disappeared, and a white living room appeared on the screen. The researchers adjusted the equipment and slowly aimed it at 3 men and 1 woman. They looked at the animals that appeared out of thin air in surprise. This was the first time I saw what Lila looked like. She was 150 centimeters tall and looked very cute, if it weren't for the pimples on her face that I had carefully fed and that spoiled her appearance. Lila should be considered a little beauty, but no matter how cute her appearance was, it couldn't hide her vicious heart. Seeing the gesture Finn made to me, Lila, this is Iris. You shouldn't mind me contacting you in this way, right? After all, it's quite troublesome to communicate in the space all the time and sometimes not be able to get in touch. Yes, I did it on purpose. When I saw the surprise in the eyes of the man next to Lila, I had this idea. I hope it won't disappoint me. In my last life, you made me become a zombie. In this life, I want you to experience the feeling of being in trouble because of possessing something valuable. Iris, don't talk nonsense. What jade pendant? I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I said the wrong thing. It's not a jade pendant. There's no jade pendant at all. We don't communicate with a jade pendant either. Looking at Lila's flustered face, I guessed that she hadn't told anyone about the jade pendant. Guys, Lila doesn't have any jade pendant. I was talking nonsense. What she's wearing around her neck isn't a jade pendant. I deliberately paused for a few seconds, seeing the greed that emerged in the eyes of the several men opposite. I was satisfied. Oops, I'm sorry. I've never lied before. Lila, don't blame me. I see that these handsome guys look like honest gentlemen. They definitely won't hurt you. Feeling Finn suddenly tighten his grip on my hand, I glared at him. Stingy, Iris, I'm going to kill you. Looking at the vines that appeared in Lila's hand and rushed straight towards the equipment, I was confident, if those men were smart enough, they definitely wouldn't let Lila destroy the equipment. As I expected, thunder and lightning appeared in Caden's hand and blocked Lila's attack. Finn and the others had been quietly watching me perform. They mainly chose not to participate in the matter between me and Lila. Anyway, the owner of the jade pendant can be changed at will. Changing to a powerful Kaden might have a better outcome than cooperating with Lila. Kaden, don't be deceived by her. She's a sinister villain. Someone, take Lila down. I want to talk to the person from another world alone. Kaden, you can't treat me like this. You'll be punished. Kaden, listening to Lila's screams as she was dragged away, I felt very happy. Finally, I've waited for this day. I admit that I'm a small-minded person. I always get even. Lila, this is just the beginning. Between you and me, it's just getting started. You have to be strong and not be played to death. After that, I no longer participated. How to cooperate with Kaden and the others was not something I needed to think about. After that, I became a ruthless teleportation machine. Every day, I was either teleporting supplies, or people, or all kinds of weapons. Later, Finn applied to go to the Apocalypse world, and someone else was sent to protect me. Actually, when I first met Finn, I had a crush on him. It wasn't just because he saved my mother in my last life. The biggest reason was that he was exactly my type. Moreover, he was cold to everyone else but always very doting on me. He even learned to cook my favorite Northeast dishes like sweet and sour pork for me and prepared all kinds of surprises for me. He knew all the things I had experienced. He knew that because there was no result in the Apocalypse world, this thorn in my heart hadn't been pulled out, making me always feel insecure, so he and I had always maintained a tacit understanding, and neither of us broke through that layer of paper. Finn and I were also among the first batch of people on Blue Star to awaken powers. He awakened a control-type power and is now a level 5 power user, ranking among the top 10 in terms of power on Blue Star. And perhaps because of being reborn or because of the Jade Bracelet, I awakened a space-type power and was stuck at the late stage of level 4 and couldn't move forward. Above level 5 of powers is a watershed. Since I haven't reached level 5, I can't mark Blue Star at all, so I can't go to the Apocalypse world to find Finn. If I rashly go to the Apocalypse world through the Jade Pendant, no one can guarantee whether I can return to Blue Star, but no matter what, I have to go to the Apocalypse world once. Because through the connection between the Jade Bracelet and the Jade Pendant, I have to bring back all the soldiers who were teleported there. This requires me to reach level 5, mark Blue Star, then go to the Apocalypse world with the Jade Bracelet, and then through the mark of Blue Star, safely teleport the Jade Pendant back to Blue Star. As long as there is a slight mistake in the middle, both I and those tens of thousands of soldiers will be trapped in the Apocalypse world and never be able to return to Blue Star. And currently, the most powerful power user on Blue Star is only at level 6. The higher the level, the more difficult it is to upgrade. Kaden in the Apocalypse world has reached level 7, not to mention the Zombie King with abundant crystal nuclei, and now the Zombie King, through continuous expansion of territory and attacks on human bases, has just reached level 8 not long ago and triggered a celestial phenomenon. If the zombies are allowed to develop, the humans living in the Apocalypse world will be completely extinct, and it will be even more difficult to obtain the resources that Blue Star lacks from the Apocalypse world, so our country reached a deeper cooperation with Kaden, sent a large number of troops to help Kaden defend the base, and began to focus on researching weapons. But before Finn left, he clearly promised to contact me every day. At first, everything was normal, but just half a month after Finn went to the Apocalypse world, there was no news from him. The think tank almost asked all the soldiers in the Apocalypse world, but they found nothing. I waited for 3 days, 10 days, 1 month. That night, I dreamed that Finn came back. He was unharmed and still as handsome as ever. I cried until my eyes were red, angry that he hadn't contacted me for so long, and punished him to cook delicious food for me. He made me a plate of fried rice. As I ate, I said that his cooking skills had declined. He put so much soy sauce, but after I finished eating, he told me cheekily that the pot wasn't washed before cooking, and there was no soy sauce at all. I was so angry that I chased him for several blocks. In the end, he ran into the mist, and I couldn't find him no matter how hard I searched. I woke up in a fright. I couldn't wait any longer. I called out to Lila in the Jade Bracelet space until my voice was hoarse, but there was never an answer. Since the last time we met, I haven't heard Lila's voice in the space anymore. I don't know if the owner of the Jade Pendant has been changed. All I know is that every time the person on the other side quietly accepts the supplies, I think Lila Wang is probably dead. I've asked the researchers more than once if they have contacted Finn again, but every time the answer disappoints me. Stubbornly, I go to the research institute every day and look at every corner of the Apocalypse base through the equipment, but I can never find that familiar figure. I need to see him alive or dead. I submitted an application for suspension of school to the school. I started to crazily cultivate my powers. When I was hungry, I ate instant noodles, which I, as a foodie, disliked the most. Ryder, who replaced Finn to protect me, couldn't stand it and reported it to the think tank, but now I'm as stubborn as a mule. No matter who tries to persuade me, I won't listen. Finally, after non-stop crazy cultivation, a month and a half later, I broke through and reached the initial stage of level 5 powers. After my crazy cultivation, I took a bath for the first time. The bathroom floor was a mess. Then I asked Ryder to drive me to the research institute. Knowing that I came to the research institute right after breaking through, the old chief didn't even hold the meeting anymore and sent someone to summon me to the auditorium. Iris, you've just broken through. Stabilize your powers a bit more, otherwise, I'm afraid your foundation will be unstable. Looking at the old chief's concerned eyes, I looked at him firmly. Chief, I have to go. I can't wait for a moment. We agreed before that when my powers reached level 5, I would go to the apocalypse world. Moreover, this time Finn has disappeared without a trace. What about next time? Will it be our soldiers? Besides, we have so many injured soldiers. If I don't go, they can't return to their hometowns. I now suspect that Caden has ulterior motives and that he's even harming our compatriots. Chief, let me go. But Iris, there are really too many unstable factors in the apocalypse world. Our soldiers have sufficient supplies, enough for their treatment and survival. They can definitely wait until your powers are completely stable before returning to their hometowns, but they also miss home very much. Chief, if I go one day later, maybe one more soldier will die in a foreign land. Chief, I'll issue a military order. I promise you that if I go to the apocalypse world and find something wrong, I will immediately enter the space and come back. I looked at the chief stubbornly. Sigh, Comrade Iris, I'm now ordering you as the chief to come back safely. The lives of tens of thousands of our soldiers are tied to you. Received. I stood up straight and replied loudly, I know I'm being too willful. If there's any problem with my space marking of Blue Star, both I and tens of thousands of soldiers will be trapped in the apocalypse world and never be able to return to our hometowns. 3 days before the countdown to going to the apocalypse world, I successfully marked Blue Star. 2 days before the countdown, I took a spaceship to Neptune, the farthest planet the spaceship could reach. Fortunately, I was smoothly teleported back to Blue Star 1 day before the countdown. My 2 spaces were filled with supplies prepared for me by the think tank. Using the control authority of the Jade Bracelet, I prohibited the use of the Jade Pendant. With 30 seconds left in the countdown, my heart was, but I still persisted. I looked at the old chief's eyes looking at me. I knew he wanted me not to go for the time being. I stopped looking at everyone, closed my eyes tightly, and waited for the teleportation. The familiar feeling of dizziness came. Fortunately, I was smoothly teleported to the apocalypse world through the space, but before I could see everything around me clearly, I felt the unpleasant smell in my nasal cavity, forcing me to sneeze several times in a row. It was not easy to get used to it. Looking at everything around me, I shivered. I actually saw Lila. She was tied to a bed with chains, looking dazed. I always thought Lila was dead, but I never expected that Caden didn't kill her. Instead, he was so cruel to tie Lila here. What on earth does Caden want to do? I frowned, and guessed that probably because Caden was afraid that the jade pendant would completely disappear. He didn't kill Lila Wang, but what does that have to do with me? Lila is in such an embarrassed state now. Isn't this exactly what I hoped to see? After all, seeing my enemy from my previous life, a woman as vicious as Lila, end up like this, I still feel quite happy. Hearing the sound, Lila's lifeless eyes looked towards me, but the moment she saw me, she was obviously stunned, as if she had figured out who I was. A strong hatred burst out in her eyes. Bitch, you're Iris, damn bitch, I'm going to kill you. Why didn't you stockpile supplies for me unconditionally like in the previous life? As she spoke, the vines in Lila Wang's hands shot towards me. You're also reborn, aren't you, you bitch, you damned bitch. Why don't you go die? I casually blocked the vines that had reached me with a space blade. Lila awakened her powers more than a year ago. At that time, Caden thought that teleporting supplies was due to Lila's powers, so he was generous in using crystal nuclei to vigorously upgrade Lila's powers. That's why Lila quickly reached the late stage of level 2 powers, and just over 2 months later, when Caden learned the truth, Lila was trapped here every day, with her hands and feet tied by chains, and Caden, who knew the secret, was even more unlikely to give her crystal nuclei to break through, so now she's no match for me at all. How is it possible? How is it possible? Looking at me easily blocking her vines, Lila Wang had a look off on her face. Don't be complacent. You will definitely die. You won't end well either. Why don't you first take a look at your current situation? Haha, it seems you don't know yet. What has your little lover been tortured into by that bastard Caden? Where's Finn? What do you know? Tell me. Haha, beg me, kneel on the ground and beg me. Looking at Lila's crazy appearance, I could no longer control the killing intent on me. Since you don't want to say it, then forget it. Do you know that in our Blue Star, there's a kind of torture, cut off your flesh piece by piece, and make you eat one piece after cutting, until 108 cuts. What do you want to do, Lila Wang? You're also reborn, right? Well, today we'll settle the old scores. Looking at Lila Wang, who was looking terrified, I slowly walked towards her, the space blade in my hand gradually condensed, and the pressure of a level 5 power user pressed hard towards Lila Wang. I'll tell you where he is, don't kill me. Feeling the pressure of a level 5 power user on me, Lila Wang frantically released vines, wrapping herself tightly. Oh, then tell me. If you answer well, I'll spare you. Okay, I'll tell you. It's Caden. Someone in your world was bribed by him. He told Caden that the jade pendant has a master-servant relationship and can change its owner. Lila Wang looked at my angry expression and was even more terrified. Caden doesn't fancy the jade pendant in my hand, he wants the jade bracelet in your hand, and Caden also learned from that person that Finn is your boyfriend, so he wants to imprison Finn, but your boyfriend is too alert. He found out that Caden had evil intentions and led people to resist, but the gap in power levels was too great, and he was still caught. I heard that they were imprisoned in a water dungeon by Caden and were tortured terribly. I've told you everything I know. Please, spare me. Then do you know who betrayed us? I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, then didn't you think of telling Caden that if I die, both the jade bracelet and the jade pendant will disappear? I didn't dare. I was afraid that if I said it, Caden would kill me, and I would have no value at all. Iris, please, don't kill me. I know I was wrong. Looking at Lila Wang crying and kneeling on the ground, constantly begging me for mercy, I sneered. If you had communicated with me through the jade pendant in time when Finn was trapped, I might have spared you, but your selfish character really hasn't changed at all. I gave you opportunities. I contacted you through the space not once or twice. No, it's not like that. Iris, please spare me. After you died in the previous life, I found that the space disappeared with you. Those people who said they would protect me were so cruel that they didn't believe what I said at all. They cooked me alive and ate me. Iris, please let me go. I just want to live. If you want to live, why did you hurt me? Why did you hurt so many innocent people? I helped you stockpile supplies in my previous life, and you made me into a zombie. In this life, we helped you fight zombies, but you want to take away our space and hurt our soldiers who came to help. You bunch of beasts really deserve to die. My eyes turned red with anger, and my whole body trembled. The space blades in my hands rushed towards Lila Wang without sparing. No, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please spare me, bitch. Haha, bitch, don't be complacent. I'm waiting for you. In the next life, I will definitely kill you. I used my powers to take the jade pendant from around Lila's neck, turned around, and no longer looked at Lila Wang, who was no longer recognizable. She didn't end well in 2 lifetimes. Does she still want a next life? Dream on. She deserved all this. With red eyes, I looked at this room, made of copper walls and iron barriers, and started to study how to get out. Normally, our country's think tank would inform Caden when I came to this world, but until now, Caden hasn't shown up. Even if Lila didn't say it, I could guess that Caden had bad intentions. After all, we had already made the worst-case scenario plans before coming. I could imagine that Finn might be in danger now. I endured the pain in my heart and observed the surrounding environment. The most important thing now was how I could get out. I tried to use teleportation to leave this room made of copper walls and iron barriers, but I found that I couldn't use teleportation here. It seemed that something was smeared on the walls, restricting my space powers. If my life is really in danger, now only the time of space gate can be used, but once the time of space gate is used, my powers are far from enough to support me to return to Blue Star. Even sending Lila's jade pendant to Blue Star through the time of space gate, I might exhaust my powers during the teleportation and make the jade pendant get lost in the long river of time and space. I don't want to take risks unless it's a last resort. I observed the surroundings and didn't find an exit. I didn't even find a door crack. I frowned tightly, feeling extremely anxious. This won't do. I took out the equipment prepared for me by the scientists in the space, turned it on, and connected it. Soon, familiar faces appeared in the video. I told the think tank everything that happened to me here. My IQ may not be enough, but I still have the think tank. After listening to my account, they also didn't expect such a thing to happen. For a while, there was a lot of discussion. Suddenly, I heard footsteps coming from behind. I immediately moved at the fastest speed in 2 lifetimes, made a mark here, and used my powers to make the connected equipment invisible. I also made myself invisible and hid in a corner to observe the situation. Unexpectedly, the door opened next to me. As soon as it opened, I saw a person start sprinkling white powder in the air. Behind him was Caden and Nolan, whom I had seen in the video before. I secretly thought it was bad. It seemed that the traitor in our world had told them about my powers. If the powder accidentally gets on me, I really won't be able to run away. Just a level 7 power user like Caden, without my teleportation powers, can kill me hundreds of times over. Fortunately, I've always been lucky. The position I'm in now is still a bit away from them, which gives me an excellent opportunity, and the think tank, through the equipment, saw this dangerous situation and deliberately made a sound to attract their attention. I saw the 3 of them looking in the direction of the equipment. I let out a sigh of relief. I started to move carefully towards the back of Caden. The most dangerous place is the safest place, and behind Caden is the door. As long as I get out, I can use teleportation. Bye. Then, no one can catch me. Caden, look, Lila Wang is dead. Nolan, go and see if the jade pendant is still on her. Yasik, go to the place where the sound came from just now and continue sprinkling white powder. 3 steps left, and I can walk out of this room. Sweat is dripping from the tip of my nose due to nervousness. They really came with bad intentions, and they also have means to deal with space power users, if they find me. The consequences are unimaginable. Caden, there's no jade pendant on Lila Wang. Caden, this equipment has an invisibility power. I guess the person who came is Iris. 2 steps left. Continue sprinkling. Don't miss any corner. Watching Caden directly use his lightning powers to destroy the equipment connected by the think tank, I became even more cautious. Even if I'm stupid, I can tell that Caden has no intention of communicating with me if I'm really caught by him. I'm definitely doomed. 1 step left. Caden, we've sprinkled everywhere. Could she have already run away? Probably not. There she is. Nolan saw the trace left by me accidentally stepping on the flower and shouted loudly, pointing his finger at my position. I secretly thought it was bad, but I had already taken the last step and, with a malicious intention, threw all the bombs in my space at them. Seeing Caden release his lightning powers as expected, I smiled with satisfaction. I almost instantly activated my powers and escaped into a strange empty room, but even though I escaped as fast as I could, my back was still hit by the aftershock of the bombs I threw. The intense pain in my entire back almost made me unable to stand. However, I estimate that Caden, a level 7 power user, should be fine. At most, he's just injured, but whether his 2 subordinates can withstand so many explosives is hard to say. Damn Caden. Hearing the commotion outside, I knew I couldn't stay here for long. I locked my powers on the east and started teleporting desperately. I kept teleporting east. I don't know how many times I teleported. When my powers were about to run out, I stopped. This is a top-floor room. The room is covered with dust, and the outside of the building is entangled with thick vines. I used my powers to sense the surroundings. There were no zombies. It was very safe. Only then did I feel relieved and start bandaging my wounds. It hurts so much, although it's not as painful as becoming a zombie in the previous life. Those who have been scalded should know that kind of pain, and this is almost the entire back that has been charred. I used all the swear words I knew in my heart to curse Caden. Finn, you have to hold on. Don't leave before me. I wiped away my tears, took out a clean mattress from the space and laid it on the ground, then took out the equipment and connected it to Blue Star at the beginning, because I was afraid of such a situation. The chief was not at ease with me coming alone, but I didn't expect that the situation would be even worse than imagined. Tens of thousands of soldiers are still in Caden's base, and now Caden doesn't even pretend anymore and has directly torn his mask. I told the think tank everything that had happened, especially the matter of the traitor. Several times, I watched the think tank looking worried, and I didn't feel good either this time. We completely broke with Caden. I'm afraid he has already started to deal with the soldiers. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If I hadn't come, Caden wouldn't have broken with us, resulting in the current situation of these tens of thousands of soldiers. Iris, this isn't your fault. This was bound to happen sooner or later. How can it not be her fault? For one person, she put tens of thousands of soldiers in danger, but this is an inevitable thing. No one wants such a thing to happen, right? I watched the think tank start arguing. I felt both guilty and self-accusation. Okay, stop arguing. Looking at the suddenly appeared old chief, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. I'm sorry, Chief. I'm the one who caused these tens of thousands of soldiers to be in this situation. It's all my fault. Iris, you don't need to feel guilty. When we made this decision, we actually thought of this. People's greed knows no bounds, but after all, it's because of me that they have become hostages. But Iris, have you ever thought that if you didn't come to the apocalypse world, they still couldn't go home? Sooner or later, such a thing would still happen. It can only be said that we underestimated the evil of human nature. Chief, then what should we do now? Axel, a member of the think tank who had just contradicted me, looked at the old chief with a worried expression. Send the order to connect all the equipment we left on the soldiers. Convey this news to all the soldiers. Let the soldiers find a way to stick together and protect themselves, and try to save supplies as much as possible. Yes, Iris, listen up. I order you that from now on, you must work hard to upgrade your powers and protect your own life safety. The fate of our tens of thousands of soldiers is tied to you. Yes, I replied loudly with tears in my eyes. Next, we have a tough battle to fight. Think tank, receive the order. Here, find a way to communicate with Caden and hold him off to protect our soldiers. Can you do it? Can do. Send the order to the Weapons Research Center to develop nuclear weapons. If Caden dares to harm our soldiers, there's no need for the apocalypse world to exist. Yes, security team, find the traitor and execute their immediate relatives and revoke their nationality. Yes, a series of orders were issued, and everyone started to get busy. The equipment connection was cut off. I took out the crystal nuclei from the space and desperately absorbed them. The mission on my shoulders was too heavy. After an unknown amount of time, I felt a stinging pain in my meridians and had to stop. I casually ate a few bites of the compressed biscuits that I used to dislike the most, then teleported downstairs and started looking for zombies to hunt and obtain crystal nuclei. The disgusting appearance of the zombies made my stomach turn, but I was self-torturing. I wouldn't stop until my powers were almost exhausted. A week passed, and I learned from the think tank that Finn had been rescued and was now recuperating. Caden was intimidated by the nuclear weapons demonstrated by the think tank and didn't dare to mistreat the soldiers in any way, but secretly, he sent people to look for me. The big stone in my heart finally dropped. As long as Caden could be deterred, we still had a chance. I started a life of hiding and hunting zombies. I also had the mood to eat well. As long as Caden couldn't find me, Finn and the soldiers would be safe. Gradually, I found that there were fewer and fewer high-level zombies. Sometimes they would even gather together and walk in one direction. This undoubtedly increased the speed at which I hunted zombies. I told this phenomenon to the think tank. I estimate that the zombie king has leveled up again. My god, then he would be level 9. The best human power is only level 7. Are zombies really the darlings of this world? Comrade Iris, no matter how difficult it is, you must work hard to upgrade your powers. Our hope lies with you. Yes, sir. After ending the call, my mood became even heavier. The situation was getting more and more serious. No one knew when the Zombie King would launch a general attack. I started to risk my life to hunt zombie crystal nuclei around the territory of the Zombie King. In this situation, only around the territory of the Zombie King could I find level 5 and level 6 zombies. In other places, there were either level 1 zombies or rotting flesh zombies, but these zombies were of no use to me. In the early morning, I quietly killed a level 5 zombie again and returned to the safe house I had tidied up. I ate some bread, spicy strips, and sausage to fill my stomach, and then started to prepare to break through the final bottleneck from level 5 to level 6. Huff, I let out a long breath. It seemed that the level 5 crystal nuclei were still not enough for me to break through to level 6. I opened my eyes and saw the already dim room and a dirty little girl who suddenly appeared in the safe house. I shuddered all over. Who are you? How did you get in? I controlled my powers, ready to run away immediately if I saw something wrong. Chew, chew, chew. Are you a zombie? Chew, chew, chew. Ugh, what should I do? She ignored me, but she ate all the small snacks I put in the safe house. Well, you keep eating. I'm leaving now. Even if I were thick-skinned, I could tell that this little girl who appeared around the territory of the Zombie King was definitely not simple, and I was definitely no match for her. Chew, chew, chew. Seeing the little girl suddenly blocking my way, I was so scared that I teleported and ran away. I randomly set a location. I didn't know where I had teleported to. Chew, chew, chew. You. How did you get here? I tried to teleport again. I couldn't move. I simply couldn't move. My great-grandmother, my grandma, my motherland, my coat. Don't prepare food for me anymore. I'm afraid I won't live through today. Chew, chew, chew. Do you have any more? It's so delicious. Aren't you going to kill me? If I kill you, I won't be able to eat these delicious things. Chew, chew, chew. Looking at the tender little hand in front of me and the mysterious and dirty little girl in front of me, I seem to see myself when I was a gluttonous child, but she's really scary. Okay, yes, but it's not safe here. Can you let me go first? No, you'll run away. I won't run. Think about it. I can't run faster than you anyway. 10 packs. The little girl held up the spicy strip bag in her hand. Okay, let me go first. Okay, but Mom said that lying adults have to be punished. I felt really bad. This little girl was already so powerful. I really couldn't imagine how powerful her mother would be. I felt that this year must be the year of my bad luck. Otherwise, why would all the bad things happen to me? Feeling that the little girl had released her restraint on me, I quickly took out 10 bags of spicy strips from the space. Little sister, what's your name? Why are you here? There are zombies everywhere here. It's so dangerous. Where's your mother? How could it be dangerous? They're all my uncles. You. What did you say? Could it be that you're also a zombie? Looking at this little girl who lived no different from a human, I felt that there was no chance of victory for humans in this world, just based on this little girl's appearance. In human society, no one could tell that she was actually a zombie. Chew, chew, chew. What's wrong? Then is your mother also? What's wrong? Can I leave now? Chew, chew, chew. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as you agreeing. I can exchange crystal nuclei with you. Chew, chew, chew. Really? It was really hard to believe. I thought she would just kill me and take all the things in my space. After all, both Lila and Caden wanted to do that, but I never expected that as a zombie, she would take the initiative to propose to exchange crystal nuclei with me. Okay, let's go back to the safe house. Chew, chew, chew. Back in the safe house, I took out 1/3 of all the snacks in the space. I watched helplessly as the little girl also took out a pile of crystal nuclei from her space, feeling the energy in each crystal nucleus. I looked at the little girl in shock. These are all crystal nuclei above level 6. Are they all for me? What's wrong? It would be stupid not to take advantage of this. I took, upgrade. I'll watch the room for you. Ah, so nice. Thank you. I still don't know your name. My name is Eloise. You can call me Eloise. Okay, thank you, Eloise. But before that, I have to do one thing. I stretched out my long-awaited claws towards Eloise. A quarter of an hour later, looking at Eloise, who had become clean and tidy like a princess, I nodded in satisfaction. Which girl doesn't have a dream of dressing up a doll after half a month of my crazy cultivation? And with Eloise, this cheating artifact provider of crystal nuclei, my powers improved rapidly. I reached the late stage of level 5, then level 6, and the initial stage of level 7. If Eloise's crystal nuclei hadn't run out, I felt that I could continue to break through. As soon as I broke through to level 7, I sent the jade pendant to Blue Star. Now, I'm no longer the weak me I used to be now. When my powers are full, I can freely cross between the two planes without being restricted by the connection between the jade pendant. If I had been at level 7 when I came to the apocalypse world, I believe that even if Caden disliked me no matter how much, he definitely couldn't defeat me. After communicating with the think tank through the equipment and leaving a lot of snacks in the safe house, I found Eloise, who was playing games in the corner, and said goodbye to her. Eloise, I'm leaving today. Where are you going? Looking at Eloise's surprised expression, I touched her furry little head. Roar, Eloise, get your ass out here. Without any warning, a sudden shout made me be overwhelmed by the terrifying pressure and spit out a large mouthful of blood. Mom, don't. You've made sister vomit blood. The specially made door of the safe house was instantly blasted open. I looked up and could only see a head of long black hair fluttering in the air. Through the light, I saw the person's curvy figure. Why are you with a human? They're all insidious and cunning. Aren't you afraid of losing your life? But Mom, I feel that sister is different. Eloise, have you learned nothing from what I taught you? Mom, I know I was wrong, but I won't allow you to hurt sister. Eloise, you've got some guts. You ran away from home for more than half a month, and now you even dare to speak up for an outsider. Mom, I have a reason for this. Don't you know that humans are not allowed to appear here? Seeing the female zombie's blood-red eyes staring at me, I secretly activated my powers and locked onto Blue Star. As soon as I saw anything wrong, I was ready to leave at any time. I'm sorry, ma'am. I had no choice. Oh, tell me about it. I had a falling out with the human base. They want to catch me or kill me and use me to threaten my relatives and comrades in arms, so I had to come here to avoid them. If I've offended you in any way, please forgive me. I didn't dare to tell this zombie the truth. Humans are already greedy enough, let alone zombies. We've had too many lessons. Who would believe your nonsense? I think you're a spy sent by humans to spy on our intelligence. Seeing the female zombie launching an attack on me, I didn't hesitate and immediately activated my powers, disappearing in a second. No, Mom, back on Blue Star, breathing in the no longer turbid air, I quickly took out my phone from the space and contacted Ryder. Ryder, come pick me up and take me back to the villa. I'm in the basement of the research institute now. Returning to Blue Star consumed too much of my powers. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. In the apocalypse world, Mom, why didn't you give me a chance to speak? What could you say? You were just going to plead for her. No, it's not like that. She's the savior that Auntie predicted, the savior of our entire planet. Otherwise, she's still holding the jade pendant that Auntie was going to give to the destined person. She has the jade pendant in her hand. Why didn't you tell me earlier? The female zombie's expression became ferocious. Mom, what's wrong with you? Eloise, the next time you see this person, kill her directly. Why, Mom, she's a good person. Eloise, I've never told you this. Your auntie's jade pendant wasn't given to the savior. Instead, it was snatched away by a sinister woman. It can't be sister. She's not that kind of person. And she didn't use the jade pendant. She sent the jade pendant away and gave it to someone else. Eloise, can't you stop being so naive? I'm your mother. Would I lie to you? Then you don't know that the jade bracelet in sister's hand is even more advanced than the jade pendant. Mom, you were too impulsive. Reflect on it here by yourself. Looking at Eloise walking away, the female zombie was full of shock. But Eloise, both you and I were killed by humans. The bracelet really appeared. Is what sister said true? Is she really the savior? The wind picked up, and the female zombie's whispers were blown away in the air. When I woke up again, I was already back home. It was dark outside. Ryder wasn't in the villa. I didn't know how long I had been in a coma. I took a comfortable bath at home and turned on the TV. For the first time in half a year, I leisurely ate a beef tallow hot pot. The mutton from Inner Mongolia was bright in color, without any muttony smell, and melted in the mouth. I vigorously picked up a large chopstick of mutton, coated it with sesame paste and other hot pot seasonings, and stuffed it into my mouth with satisfaction. It was soft and delicious. I wouldn't trade this feeling for being a fairy. Then I took a sip of the lychee soda that Northeast people can't do without. Burp. At the end of the hot pot meal, I ate the delicate and silky lonco vermicelli to end the battle. I lay on the soft sofa, feeling my body full of powers and my happy stomach, and comfortably squinted my eyes, waiting for the first ray of sunlight to arrive. After daybreak, I went to the research institute again, took a lot of newly developed nuclear bomb weapons, and set off for the apocalypse world again. Caden, you little bastard, are you ready? Your grandpa is coming again, Iris. Your task is to safely bring back all the soldiers, under the premise of ensuring your own safety. You can act freely. Yes, before setting off, I specially asked my mother to go to the first gang in Northeast China to pray for me. Mo, asterisk. Oh, it was a top-grade lottery. After arriving in the apocalypse world, I used my powers to become invisible and started teleporting all the soldiers with obvious marks, while also keeping an eye on Finn's location. 3 days later, there were no longer any people with red ropes tied to their arms in the base, but I still hadn't seen Finn. I asked the think tank and found out that Caden had noticed that there were fewer and fewer Blue Star soldiers in the base. He communicated with the trader in Blue Star and found out that I had returned to the base again and knew Finn's specific location earlier than me. Why haven't we found out who this trader is yet? Sorry, he had too. Well before, we've checked the surveillance hundreds of times and haven't found any clues. Looking at the think tank with furrowed brows, I became suspicious of their abilities, but looking at their bloodshot eyes and thinning hair, I opened my mouth but ultimately didn't say anything. I put away the equipment and teleported to the center of the base. Boom, boom, roar, roar, roar. Terrifying zombie roars came from outside the base. Hearing the commotion, everyone in the base started to riot and rushed towards the city wall in the center. I teleported to the city wall and leapt out. There were thickly dotted of high-level zombies. The zombies in the front row were still holding a large blue banner. Iris, I want to talk to you. See you in your little house. I didn't understand what there was to talk about, and I didn't want to go now. There were no longer any of our country's soldiers in this base. Only a man who was very important to me, even if the zombies really attacked here. I didn't want to care. For me now, nothing is more important than finding Finn. I started to fully release my powers and focus on searching underground. I had searched the ground no less than 5 times in these 3 days and hadn't seen Finn. Then it could only be underground. It was getting darker and darker, and a bloody infighting started in the base. The people outside the city wall wanted to get inside, and the people inside the city wall wanted to use them as cannon fodder on the way. Whenever I saw children under the age of 10, pregnant women, or parents with children, I would teleport them to Blue Star. In a disaster, children are always the most innocent. It was getting darker and darker. Just when I was about to despair, I finally found something abnormal. In the center of the base, at the deepest part underground, there was a space that I would accidentally ignore every time I detected it. If it weren't for the fact that I was distracted just now and my powers had been detecting here without moving, I probably would never have discovered it. I teleported to this space, took out the newly developed laser gun, and started to make a hole. During the process of drilling, blackened liquid flowed out from the center of the wall, and the stench of decay rushed straight to my forehead. I guessed that it was this thing that prevented me from teleporting and even using my powers. I put on a gas mask, endured the nausea, and collected some of it, putting it into the space. The liquid flowed more and more along the hole I made, but the feeling of being restricted in my powers became weaker and weaker. I no longer hesitated and teleported inside. This was a very advanced laboratory. The smell of blood and decay filled the laboratory. Here, I found many zombies, many women, babies, or men, and also found the water dungeon that Lila had mentioned before, but there was no sign of Finn. When I encountered people in white coats, even though they were so tortured by me that they were hardly human-shaped, they still stubbornly said that they had never seen Finn. I stood outside the last door that hadn't been checked. Intuition told me that Finn was inside. I picked up the laser gun and started to make a hole. As expected, the familiar liquid flowed out from the wall. When I felt that my powers were no longer hindered in any way, I kicked down this damned wall. As soon as I looked up, I saw a scene that made my eyes wide with anger. Finn was lying naked on the operating table. His skin was cut off and placed on the shelf of the operating table. There were countless wounds on his body, large and small, and Caden didn't even raise his head when he heard the noise. He was still performing atrocities with a scalpel. I'm going to kill you. I used my powers to protect Finn and frantically attacked Caden. Caden was stunned for a moment when he felt the level of my powers, but he calmly threw lightning at me. However, even though Caden's powers had reached the late stage of level 7 in this more than a month, he was still pushed back several steps by my space powers. The space powers are unpredictable. When you attack me, I teleport. When I attack you, you can't avoid it. Taking advantage of Caden being pushed back a few steps, I regained my senses and teleported Finn to Blue Star. Then, from the space, I launched all the missiles, bombs, and even nuclear weapons at Caden. Wang Peng, who was trying to run away by elevator, opened his eyes wide and was engulfed by the fire. The other hand overdrew my powers to open the space door and return to Blue Star. I looked up, with a pleading look in my eyes, at the old chief who was waiting at the research institute. I opened my mouth weakly. A crystal nucleus appeared in my hand to replenish my powers. Before I knew the specific situation of Finn, I couldn't collapse. Finn is still alive. Where is he? Tears fell, and I felt self-reproach in my heart. After all, I had gone too late. Don't worry, he's in the military hospital now. Okay, the powers that I had just absorbed into my body were used again by me. Ignoring the gazes of the people around me in the hospital, I used my powers to sense that weak breath and rush there quickly. I sat on the chair outside the operating room, and my powers were always focused on the familiar and weak breath coming from the operating room. A pile of crystal nucleus powder was scattered on the ground, due to continuously absorbing crystal nuclei and consuming powers. Cracks began to appear in my meridians. The operating room door opened. I watched Finn being pushed out, looking at the doctor full of anticipation. We did our best. The patient has suffered too much. You have to be mentally prepared. How could this be? How could this be? My heart was torn with pain, and my head seemed to be about to explode. I couldn't believe what I heard. Therapy-type powers. Right. There's still hope. There are still therapy-type powers. I held Finn's scarred hand tremblingly and dialed the think tank's phone number. Why isn't anyone answering? Where are they? Where are they? Ryder, why isn't anyone answering? What's going on? Beep. The number you dialed has no answer. I angrily smashed the phone. What was going on? Why wasn't anyone answering? Where were they? Where had everyone gone? Next is the Blue Star News report. The chief fainted during the meeting due to poisoning and is currently being rescued. Let's pray for the chief together. I believe the chief will wake up soon. Next report, the chief's secretary, Caden, was found to have changed his nationality 2 days ago and has already fled abroad. Our country is jointly arresting him with multiple countries. Multiple countries have refused Caden and his family's immigration. Caden, so the traitor is actually you. I couldn't figure out why Caden had done this. No wonder the chief and the others couldn't be reached, but the most important thing now was how to find a high-level therapy-type power user. I didn't care about eating, resting, or even changing my clothes. After replenishing my powers, I went to the apocalypse world again. At this time, some people in the base had already started to try to break through the siege and leave the base surrounded by zombies. I quickly shuttled through the crowd, looking for a therapy-type power user at least at level 5. Sister, I finally found you. Why are you here? Sister, my mom wasn't intentional last time. I'm sorry. We came here specially to find you this time. What? To find me, and then surround the entire base? I really couldn't understand the way zombies' minds worked. I have something very important to do now. I don't have time to see your mom. Also, can you not hurt these innocent people? They've already used all their strength to survive until now. Sister, are you looking for something? Yes. Can you stop pestering me? I'm in a hurry. Seeing the little zombie always spinning around me and constantly asking questions in my ear, I, who had always had a good temper, couldn't help but shout at her, Sister, you're so fierce. Seeing Eloise looking at me in disbelief, I still squatted down and stroked Eloise's furry little head. Eloise, 2 very important people to me are sick. I'm looking for a therapy-type power user. I hope the therapy-type power user can save them. Can Eloise forgive Sister for what she did just now? Okay, Sister, I understand. Good girl. Sister has to go and be busy. You stay here by yourself. Okay, Eloise, tell your mom not to hurt humans anymore. After I find the healing type power user and save the people, I'll go and see her. Seeing Eloise nodding her little head obediently, I walked away without looking back and continued my search. Sister, I've brought the person for you. Just as I found a level 5 therapy type power user, I heard Eloise's voice in my ear. Looking up, I was completely dumbfounded. Have you ever seen a huge walking blue meatball? I felt like I almost got blue phobia when I saw this scene. Eloise, I've already found one. He's a level 5 therapy type power user. Looking at the person I pointed to, Eloise showed a look of disgust. Sister, my Roman here is in level 8 therapy type power user. Don't look down on him. I finally managed to get him here with all my snacks. Level 8, therapy type, Roman. I knew each word, but I didn't understand the combination. He's a zombie, right? Can he treat humans? Never tried. Well, it was quite speechless. I took out the equipment to contact the think tank. Now the number of think tank members had decreased sharply. Half of them had been taken away after being investigated. I'm not sure if any uncontrollable factors will occur when the zombies come to Blue Star, but the chief and Finn need them. Even if there's only a glimmer of hope, I want to give it a try. I watch the think tank hesitate. I'll teleport them to the laboratory later. Please send the chief and Finn there now and clear everyone out of the laboratory. If I find anything wrong, I'll send them away immediately. I'll take all the consequences. Watching the think tank members get busy, I took a deep breath and looked at Eloise. Eloise, can I trust you completely? Sister, you have to believe in Eloise. Eloise won't harm you, and you're our savior. Savior, what's that? Auntie said. Beep. The equipment rang. Everything was ready on Blue Star. Eloise, wait. For me to come back and find you, I teleported the level 5 therapy type power user and Roman back to Blue Star. Just as I was about to follow them immediately to prevent any accidents, Eloise stopped me. Sister, take me with you. I can help. No, Eloise, you stay here obediently. I'll come back after saving the people. Okay, sister. I brought Roman and the therapy type power user Tanner back to Blue Star. I asked them to treat the old chief first. The chief was the general of A. Country. The country couldn't do without the chief. I couldn't be selfish to the whole of humanity just because I liked Finn. Roar. This person is poisoned. I can only temporarily stabilize the toxin, but for him to wake up, someone has to assist him to absorb crystal nuclei and help him awaken his powers. If it's a therapy type crystal nucleus, he can live for at least several decades. Do you have a healing type crystal nucleus on you, or do you know where there is one? The zombie Queen has a healing type crystal nucleus on her. Okay, I see. Please help me stabilize his toxin and also check Finn's condition. Okay, watching a green power radiate from a zombie and a human, covering Finn's body and not dissipating for a long time, my heart was in a state of anxiety. A quarter of an hour later, Tanner couldn't hold on any longer and stopped. How is it? Can he wake up? He's too severely injured and has closed off his consciousness. Now it's not about whether we can wake him up, but whether he wants to wake up himself. Yes, I can only treat the injuries on his body for now, but I can't heal the mental damage he suffered. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Are there any requirements for the person who stimulates the chief's powers? The think tank, who had been watching outside the sterile glass, said through the phone, it has to be a control-type power user. Because only a control-type power user can accurately control the meridians of a human without damaging them. This human's body is too weak and has aged terribly, so it must be a powerful control-type power user. Tanner and I looked at each other and then at the think tank members. It seemed like a closed loop. Finn was a control-type power user, and the old chief also needed a control-type power user to wake up. The atmosphere fell into a stalemate for a while after treating the injuries of both of them. Everyone in the research institute was looted by Roman. He happily carried a special made sack as big as a hill and walked towards the teleportation door. I was finally relieved that he was leaving. Otherwise, with him staying on Blue Star, I was always worried that he was an uncontrollable factor, even a time bomb. Fortunately, nothing I was worried about happened. After seeing Tanner and Roman off, Tanner and I, along with the nurses, sent the old chief and Finn back to the military hospital. I stayed in Finn's ward for a whole day and night and wiped his body clean. Even though I knew he had closed off his 5 senses, I still told him all my feelings. I regret it. I regret not confirming our relationship with you one day earlier. I regret it. I regret not stopping you from going to the apocalypse world. I regret it. I regret not looking for you earlier. Forgive me. If you can wake up, we must be happy together. I want to marry you and have a lovely child for you. In the early morning, with swollen eyes, I kissed Finn's forehead and walked out of the ward, exhausted. I didn't notice that Finn's eyelashes trembled slightly. I took a mental-type power user and almost traveled all over the world to look for Caden, this culprit. I wanted him to receive the punishment he deserved. On a rainy day, we finally found him in a slum in Australia. He was ragged and unshaven. I couldn't figure out why, even though he had obtained so much gold, he could still end up like this. After bringing him back to the country for interrogation, we learned that because our country had become the largest country on Blue Star and issued a wanted order for him to all countries, no country dared to accept his nationality. Desperate, he actually believed the mafia in the United States. He gave all his money to the mafia boss, just to change his name and start a new life, but he didn't expect that the mafia boss directly threw him to Australia. In this country, he suffered a lot and even got a lot of dirty diseases. The news department released his ending. The whole people praised the mafia boss's actions and shouted at the mafia to always help us deal with traitors like this in the future. The whole network said that this was the punishment Caden deserved. He got what was coming to him, and in a few days, he would be executed. His family and relatives, who had once been proud of him, now wished they could cut off relations with him, for fear that Caden would implicate them again. Miss Iris, I apologize to you for my recklessness last time. Looking at the well-dressed zombie queen in front of me, who was politely apologizing, my doubts deepened. Why have you changed so much? I don't believe you have no ulterior motives for me. Miss Iris, let me tell you a story. I nodded. I have a kind twin sister. She awakened the prophecy power. At that time, we were still human. She had the same dream for several days in a row that a savior would come wearing a jade bracelet and save the world, but she thought it was too absurd and never believed it, and one morning, after she had this dream for a whole week, the same jade pendant as in the dream appeared in front of her bed. She knew this was the jade pendant that could communicate with the savior in the dream, but she studied it for a long time and couldn't figure out how to use it, so she foolishly told this news to her best friend. I tried to stop her many times, but she wouldn't listen. Finally, on the way to escape to the base, I got separated from her because I had to protect Eloise, but Eloise and I were still scratched by zombies, and my sister, before I turned into a zombie, I saw with my own eyes that she was pushed into the zombie horde by her so-called best friend, but I was powerless to save her. After becoming a zombie, through upgrading, I gradually awakened my memory, but I only found Eloise, and my sister, I still haven't found her until now. Looking at the blood and tears shed by the zombie king and listening to her story, her sister's experience was so similar to what happened to me in my previous life. Watching the person I had protected all my life die in front of me, this kind of pain I would never forget, and I could deeply empathize with it. You said your sister's best friend snatched the jade pendant. Could it be Lila? That's right. It was her. I saw with my own eyes the hand she stretched out to push my sister, but I had no chance to save my sister. This is also why I particularly dislike humans. Zombies are used to being straightforward. I feel very relaxed getting along with zombies. But humans are too greedy and full of intrigues. Damn Lila, so she didn't just kill me, then why say I'm the savior? I don't know either, so I hope you can help us. I'm sorry, I think I need to think about it carefully. It doesn't matter, I can understand. We've been waiting for more than 10 years, we don't mind waiting a little longer. I thought that by my euphemistic refusal, the zombie queen wouldn't give me the precious healing type crystal nucleus, but unexpectedly, when I was about to leave, she still took the initiative to give me the healing type crystal nucleus. Why, aren't you afraid that I'll take the crystal nucleus and never come back? I believe in my sister's prophecy and also in your character. I opened my mouth, not knowing what to say for a moment. After I save the people, I'll go to your territory to find you, but before that, I hope you can control the zombies and stop them from hurting humans. I promise you, looking at the zombie queen and Eloise smiling, goodbye, we'll wait for you to come back. Finn's side story, I was demoted to a police officer in a police station because I offended a big leader in the army, but I met an interesting girl. She said she was bound to a jade bracelet that could connect to the apocalypse world. I thought she was crazy from reading too many novels, but when she put things into the space in front of me, I realized the seriousness of the matter. I quickly closed the walls of the interrogation room to prevent outsiders from seeing. The little girl had no sense of vigilance. She actually believed me, a stranger, casually. She wasn't afraid that I would take away her golden finger. In novels, there are many cases of people having their golden fingers taken away, but she foolishly believed me later. In the days of getting along with the little girl, my heart gradually fell for her. I felt that I was doomed. When the country started trading with the apocalypse world, I noticed that Caden was acting strangely, but I didn't tell the little girl about this. I wanted to solve it myself, relying on the fact that I had awakened my powers. I planned to venture into the apocalypse world to see what Caden was plotting, but I overestimated myself after all. As soon as I arrived in the apocalypse world, I was caught by Caden and thrown into the water dungeon later. Under the coercion and inducement of the country, I was released by Caden. I also learned everything the little girl had done for me. While I was touched, I also felt very elated. When I knew that the little girl came to the base to teleport the soldiers, I was full of anticipation. I cleaned myself up and made myself look handsome. I even asked my comrades to give me a haircut, but I ultimately didn't wait for the little girl. I was caught by Caden again and sent to the operating table in the laboratory. It was so painful. Caden, this pervert, tortured me for a whole day. He picked up a scalpel and cut off my skin bit by bit without giving me any anesthesia. He even made me eat the flesh and blood from my own body. How could there be such a perverted person in the world? I don't know how long I persisted. All I knew was that the incandescent lamp kept shining in my eyes, and the pain came one after another. I always believed that I could wait for my little girl, but when all the skin on my body was peeled off, when all the meridians in my body were picked out, when all the muscle tissues in my body were destroyed one by Caden with a scalpel, the pain had numbed me. I was a bit afraid to see and even think about what would happen if the little girl saw me in my current state. Would she dislike me? I used my powers to forcefully close my 5 senses. I knew I was being very cowardly, but it was better than seeing dislike in the little girl's eyes. I regretted not cooking more delicious food for her. I also regretted making that unwashed pot egg fried rice for her as a little revenge. If only I could start over, just like the little girl did. The ending would definitely not be like this. I don't know how much time passed. I seemed to feel that there was a person beside me, chattering non-stop. I also felt her gently peck my forehead. My scalp tingled. Didn't she know that a man's best dowry was his innocence? Who on earth was it who had ruined my innocence later? I seemed to feel that my body became extremely relaxed. Was I dead? So this was what it felt like to be dead. It was so comfortable. Slowly, I heard that person who had ruined my innocence come again. I struggled hard, not wanting him to touch me. I wanted this pervert to stop ruining my innocence, because only my little girl could touch me. When she was wiping my body again, I forced myself to open my eyes. I looked at that person with eyes full of anger. My God, it was actually my little girl. I saw the surprise and tears in her eyes, and there was no dislike in her eyes at all, and I found that there were no wounds on my body. My body was as white as a baby's. We got together, and the chief was our witness. It all seemed like a dream. It was so happily that it was hard to believe. We went to the apocalypse world together to rebuild a home for the humans there. The scientists specially built a passage between the two planets. My girl finally didn't have to work so hard anymore. Later, my country built a spaceship for the zombie queen and her kind. Since zombies don't need to breathe and can survive without carbon dioxide, they will be the explorers to discover the truth of the universe. My girl became a well-known scientist. Later, she gave birth to a lovely child for me.